Chapter 894. Before this moment, Marquis Jinghuan had thought that even if he'd suffered defeat after defeat at the hands of Xianmen Tianzong, even if he'd been slain by Xiao Yan and narrowly escaped death, even if he'd been trapped by Golden Cicada with ill intentions, all of this had been nothing more than a trial on his path of destiny. The more difficult the trial was, the greater his future would be as long as he could overcome this hurdle, and he'd be able to fly higher and further. But now, he only felt that everything in the past had become unreal, as if it were all a dream. After a long period of absent-mindedness, he erupted with hysteria. No! Impossible! All of this is an illusion created by Golden Cicada, not my true past memories. Even if it's true, I can definitely defy the heavens and change my fate. I can change everything. That's right, everything is different now. The ruthless Emperor's battle armor has been completely destroyed. This Marquis's ill-fated fate with the past has been completely severed. From now on, this Marquis's fate is in my own hands. That bullshit ruthless Emperor's battle armor has nothing to do with me. Don't even think about interfering with me. As for the person who destroyed the ruthless Emperor's battle armor, it was the person he hated the most, Xiao Yan. He naturally threw this matter to the back of his mind. Everything is different now. This Marquis has completely broken free from the shackles of the past. My luck will definitely turn for the better. The heavens are with me, this Marquis will definitely change everything. Marquis Jinghuan's eyes were scarlet red. The imperishable imperial flag, the ancient emperor's saber, the frosty moonlight ruler, the god-slaying puppet. I will definitely take back everything that belonged to this Marquis in the past. The Haotian mirror, the immortal dragon city, the grand imperial palace, the immortal heaven sword, the Taishu temple. One day, these treasures will all belong to this Marquis. Yan Mingyue, Long Yi, Shao Zhen, the flame fox king, the black phoenix. One day, these beauties will all belong to this Marquis. Golden Cicada, Xiao Yan, Liang Pan, Zhu Hongguo, Stonefeather, Yan Nanlai, Kuang Heng, Xin Longsheng. Even the Mystic Gate's master, Lin Feng. One day, this Marquis will trample all of them under my feet. Marquis Jinghuan repeatedly muttered, one day, one day. One day, Suddenly, his words were stuck in his throat and he could not continue. He watched in shock as the golden samsara surrounding him gradually disappeared. However, not only did he not escape, but his soul was also being worn away along with the golden samsara. Marquis Jinghuan's eyes were filled with horror. He immediately knew that Golden Cicada's secret technique had ended. Originally, when the mystic art ended, he would at most be trapped in the alms bowl. However, Marquis Jinghuan's desperate struggle had caused some changes to the mystic art's ritual. If Golden Cicada had left him alone, he might have been able to resurrect completely with the help of a mystic technique. He might even have had a chance of attaining a primordial soul. But before this, his state of mind had been in chaos and he had completely lost control of himself. Instead, it had led to a change in the secret art that had occurred beyond his expectations. At this moment, Marquis Jinghuan's remnant soul was actually gradually being assimilated by the golden alms bowl. Although he had not died, his life was worse than death. He could not leave this golden alms bowl for the rest of his life, but he was not the artifact spirit of the alms bowl and could not control it. He was simply bound to the alms bowl and had to listen to the control of the alms bowl's master. No! 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 Marquis Jinghuan was finally afraid. Because he had been assimilated by the golden alms bowl, his soul was rapidly recovering. However, his cultivation would remain at its current state for the rest of his life. After regaining his perception of the outside world, Marquis Jinghuan immediately saw Lin Feng. Just as he was about to speak, Lin Feng did not even look at him. With a wave of his sleeve, he put away the golden alms bowl. All that was left was Marquis Jinghuan's anguished wail. After Lin Feng had seen the image of the ruthless emperor studying the alms bowl through the golden alms bowl, he had put it away. He had never taken Marquis Jinghuan to heart. To him, Marquis Jinghuan was just a backup item for his disciple. So although he knew about Marquis Jinghuan's situation, he did not care. When he returned to the mountain and finished exploring the mysteries of the golden alms bowl, he would toss the treasure and Marquis Jinghuan over to Xiao Yan so that Xiao Yan could slowly play with them. However, when the time came, Xiao Yan would probably not be interested. Perhaps he would be tossed to the younger disciples. Then Lin Feng would not care. In any case, this guy would not be able to overturn the heavens. After putting away the golden alms bowl and the cicada wings that golden cicada had used to set up the array, Lin Feng pondered for a moment and nodded in satisfaction. Although it was still not easy to find golden cicada, it would also be difficult for him to escape this time. He turned to look at the other side and saw that Shi Tianhao was already fighting with the great sage Jiuying. This great demon was truly extraordinary. His demonic power and magical abilities were astonishing. In the heat of the battle, he was able to suppress Shi Tianhao, who had just entered the primordial soul realm. Demons did not refine Dharma treasures. Their true forms were their best weapons. This was especially true after they cultivated to the primordial true spirit realm and became more closely integrated with heaven and earth. When they revealed their true forms, their strength would most likely surpass that of human cultivators of the same realm. When human cultivators cultivated to the Dharma body of the void return realm, they pursued a world of their own. Compared to the original boundless world, this world was still the beginning. However, just like how humans in the mortal world created all kinds of tools and weapons to fight against ferocious beasts, human cultivators could control Dharma treasures. With a handy Dharma treasure, they would not be afraid of great demons of the same realm. The power of the Dharma treasure depended on the power of the Dharma treasure. Sometimes, the combination of human and Dharma treasures would boost each other's Dharma power, producing an effect that was greater than two. Of course, there were also human cultivators with powerful magical powers who could defeat great demons of the same realm empty-handed. They could even challenge great demons of a higher realm than them. However, such cases were relatively rare. In the end, the outcome of the battle depended on the specific situation and could not be generalized. However, Lin Feng's disciples were all strong in the face of strong opponents. Shi Tianhao was also very experienced in fighting with demons. Although it was dangerous to fight with the nine-headed fierce beast sage, the latter had to be careful. In fact, the nine-headed fierce beast sage was even more shocked. Although he recognized Lin Feng, he did not know much about Shi Tianhao. The battle on Mount Shu in the Divine Land had been earth-shattering. Many great demons of the vast land of infinite wilderness had been alarmed, so it was impossible for them not to pay attention to it. However, it was difficult for the demons to obtain information about the specific process of the battle on Jade Capital Mountain. Therefore, when the nine-headed fierce beast sage saw that Shi Tianhao, who was only at the primordial spirit incarnation realm, was so fierce that he could fight head-on with the star soul integration realm, the nine-headed fierce beast sage could not help but tremble. Wang Lin held the Xiantian God-sealing banner and watched silently from the side, which already put pressure on the nine-headed fierce beast sage. Even if Lin Feng was not looking in his direction, the nine-headed fierce beast sage was still trembling. Now that Lin Feng had put away the golden alms bowl and looked over, the nine-headed fierce beast sage's heart sank even more. Capture him and let him be your practice partner in the future. Now, let's go find that old man, Golden Cicada. Lin Feng smiled slightly. His fingers formed a sword, and a heaven-punishing sword chi shot out. Shi Tianhao immediately retreated. The nine-headed fierce beast sage wanted to escape, but the grey sword aura was already in front of him. The ferocious and murderous sword that could destroy everything terrified the nine-headed fierce beast sage, who had always been cruel. The nine-headed fierce beast sage let out a shrill howl. 7 stars surged together, trying to gather together to resist. But Lin Feng's seemingly unhurried movements were already in front of him in an instant, and his sword pierced through a star. Although the star had been refined by the nine-headed fierce beast sage and merged with his own demon soul, it was still a star. How magnificent was the power of a star! But when Lin Feng stabbed it with his sword, the star instantly dimmed like a small flame that flickered and then went out. Lin Feng's sword pierced through the star without the slightest hindrance. It pointed at one of the nine-headed fierce beast sage's snake-like heads. The nine-headed fierce beast sage's original form was powerful and had an extremely strong defense. Previously, Shi Tianhao had only been able to leave a slight wound on the nine-headed fierce beast sage with the divine light of finality or by stimulating his physical body to stab with the stone sword. But now, Lin Feng's sword directly pierced through the head. The sword aura continued downward and pierced through the snake's long neck. The other 8 heads of the nine-headed fierce beast sage howled in unison. Although there was only a small bloody hole in the head that had been pierced, it seemed to have lost all its vitality. It hung limply like a broken rag doll. And this was because Lin Feng's sword momentum had not been completely exhausted. Otherwise, the sword aura would have pierced the nine-headed fierce beast sage's abdomen directly. Even if he did not die, he would be half dead. Lin Feng wielded his sword with his right hand and reached out with his left hand. He had already grasped the Buddha doppelganger that the nine-headed fierce beast sage had refined. Although I don't know why your real body and doppelganger are together, it's a good opportunity for me to catch them all in one fell swoop. Lin Feng said lightly, I can see through most of the mystery of Golden Cicada's cultivation of Buddhist Dharma with his demon body, but there are still some tricks that I don't understand. I can lend them to you to take a look. I don't want to be ruthless. Otherwise, I would have cut off 8 of your heads and left only 1. You'd better calm down. The nine-headed fierce beast sage fell silent. After a long while, a voice came through his divine sense. I don't know where Master is. I don't need you to know. Lin Feng said indifferently. He captured the nine-headed fierce beast sage along with his doppelganger, and then left scenic Cloud Marsh with Shi Tianhao, Wang Lin, and the others. While trying to figure out the nine-headed fierce beast sage's Dharma doppelganger, Lin Feng followed the cicada-winged golden alms bowl to search for golden cicada. The more he learned about the Dharma doppelganger of the demon clan, the deeper Lin Feng's understanding of golden cicada. Among the human cultivators or the great sages of the demon clan in the Dharma ending realm, there were definitely people who could defeat golden cicada in terms of actual combat. But in terms of the ability to resurrect the dead, combined with the Buddhist Dharma, the way of karma, and his own innate magical powers, golden cicada was definitely one of the top few experts of the same realm and strength. In other words, among opponents of the same strength, golden cicada was one of the most difficult to kill. Some people could defeat him, but defeating him did not necessarily mean that they could kill him. To kill him, they either had a unique technique that could restrain his cicada's shedding of carapace, or they had to crush him with a considerable gap in strength. Otherwise, he would most likely escape. But for golden cicada, who was in the Dharma ending realm, there were really not many people who could crush him. For Lin Feng, such an opponent was not difficult to deal with, but rather annoying. As he flew, Lin Feng suddenly received a voice transmission using Dharma power. It was from Tuntun's father, the Taotai sage. Sect Master Lin, Golden Cicada has spread the news that you've entered the infinite wilderness. The entire infinite wilderness knows that you've come. I'm afraid that many big demons will come looking for you. Lin Feng chuckled. He had already expected such a situation when he failed to stop Golden Cicada the first time. It was actually not bad for him. It would make it easier for him to find Golden Cicada. Chapter 895. I know what happened. Tao Tai Great Sage, thank you for your kindness. Please help me spread the news. Lin Feng was grateful that Tao Tai Sage was willing to send a message. After ending the communication with Tao Tai Sage, Lin Feng continued to search for Golden Cicada by following the cicada-winged golden alms bowl. As expected, Lin Feng was gradually approaching the border of the Spirit Abyss Mountain. The Spirit Abyss Mountain was a sacred land of infinite wasteland. It was extremely suitable for the demon race to cultivate. The demon race that occupied this place was the primordial demonic ape race. The primordial demonic ape race was a powerful race second only to the primordial celestial dragon race in the ancient primordial era. Like the dragon race, the ape race was also formed from various branches, such as the extreme spirit monkey, Zhuyan demonic ape, heaven demonic ape, and so on. In the early ancient times, the master of the dragon race, Zhuhuang Xian Shang, died. The experts of the dragon race also died in battle. The dragon race fell into unprecedented weakness. It was then that the primordial demonic ape race rose, gradually becoming the new monarch of the demon race in Infinite Wasteland. Afterwards, in the middle of the primordial age, the ape race produced a spiritual divine monkey, known as the Divine Abyss Spiritual Divine Monkey. Its strength was unparalleled, and it reigned supreme. It was one of the 3 strongest saint kings in the history of the heaven primal world, the extreme king Divine Abyss. It was also during the era of Jihuang Xinyuan's rule that the primordial demonic ape race reached its peak and ran amok in the great heaven primordial world. Ever since ancient times, the barren ancient star sea had fallen into the hands of the human race. It was only during the reign of the extreme emperor's Divine Abyss that the human race had reclaimed it. That battle was the most one-sided battle with the greatest disparity in victory and defeat in all of the wars between the 2 realms. It wasn't until the war between the 2 worlds in the Middle Era that the extreme emperor's Divine Abyss fell that the race of the primordial devil apes gradually went downhill. They were surpassed by the Yudu race that rose up later and the dragon race that concealed their strength. In the recent thousands of years, just like how the dragon race had mostly lived in seclusion in the profound sea, the primordial demonic ape race had mostly lived in seclusion in their ancestral land, the Spirit Abyss Mountain. Only in the past few years had they reappeared in the world on a large scale, causing the heavenly desolate continent to surge. Golden Cicada had been famous for a long time and had been active since ancient times. The demon emperor who ruled over vast Tianhuang continent at that time was Jihuang Xinyuan. The Golden Cicada Sage was one of the great demons under Jihuang Xinyuan's command. With this connection, Golden Cicada would naturally choose a secluded place within the spiritual abyss mountain sphere of influence. Firstly, he was familiar with the land, and secondly, he was familiar with the people. However, he would definitely not get too close to the Spirit Abyss Mountain. After all, the current leader of the Spirit Abyss Mountain was a Tongtian demonic ape. He had never been on good terms with the ape and had even chased him off the Spirit Abyss Mountain in the past. Although he was chased down the mountain, he still had people he was familiar with in the ape clan, so he could still find a secret place to hide outside of the Spirit Abyss Mountain and within the ape clan's sphere of influence. Now, although the Golden Cicada Sage had also reached the Dharma ending realm, he was still alone. It would be very difficult for him to fight the Tongtian demonic ape head-on. However, this old cicada had always been crafty. He knew that Lin Feng could vaguely sense his location, so he had the intention of using Lin Feng to kill him with a borrowed knife. He wanted to make Lin Feng stir up trouble in the Spirit Abyss Mountain. Although the Tongtian demonic ape was not on good terms with him, the relationship between the primordial demonic ape clan and the human clan was even worse. When they saw Lin Feng, the demonic ape clan would probably not want to join forces with Lin Feng to deal with him. Instead, they would first kill Lin Feng, who dared to go up the mountain. When Shi Tianhao was in vast Tianhuang continent, he had been besieged by a few 6-horned divine apes. In the end, he killed a few of them. One of them was a late-stage demon king 6-horned divine ape. It was a rising star of the demonic ape clan in the Spirit Abyss Mountain and was highly regarded by the elders. This matter caused quite a stir in the Spirit Abyss Mountain. Lin Feng and Shi Tianhao were also aware of it. Therefore, it was definitely not a smooth journey to the Spirit Abyss Mountain. Of course, Golden Cicada also had to take precautions in case Lin Feng and the demonic apes of the Spirit Abyss Mountain temporarily joined forces to deal with him first. Therefore, he also revealed Lin Feng's whereabouts and attracted other great demons to the Spirit Abyss Mountain to cause trouble for Lin Feng. Not to mention others, the Dragon Clan, which was the strongest race in vast Tianhuang continent and was even more powerful than the demonic ape clan, had a bad relationship with Lin Feng. In the beginning, it was because Xianmen Tianzong and the Great Qin dynasty were on good terms. The Great Qin dynasty's creation Dharma treasure, the immortal dragon city, was first made from one of the ancestors of the Dragon Clan, ancestral dragon Sang Ning. This was a great humiliation to the Dragon Clan. In the previous war between the two worlds, the Dragon Clan knew that the Great Qin dynasty had reclaimed the immortal dragon city. The dragon clan had specifically targeted the Great Qin dynasty. If not for the other human experts coming to help, West Hill City would have been almost destroyed. However, the immortal dragon city, which had not been completely refined, was heavily damaged. After the war, the Great Qin dynasty had to invest large amounts of resources to repair it. Even the dragon clan in the Taishu Temple's Grand Supreme Dragon Pond was quite dissatisfied with the Great Qin dynasty. Xianmen Tianzong and the Great Qin dynasty were on good terms. It seemed that Jiayu, White Light, and the others had been together for a long time, so they could adjust their mentality. However, while the dragon clan in vast Tianhuang continent hated the Great Qin dynasty, they did not have a good impression of Lin Feng and his disciple. Later on, Lin Feng had taken over the Scarlet Thunder Dragon King's body and refined it into Brontosaurus's doppelganger. Just as the dragon clan in vast Tianhuang continent ended, the news was secretly spread to vast Tianhuang continent by someone with ulterior motives. At that time, some dragon clan experts expressed their desire to take revenge. However, because Lin Feng was in the Divine Land, they were worried that they would be besieged by human experts, so they held back. Today, Lin Feng had come to vast Tianhuang continent. Naturally, they had to find trouble with Lin Feng. The situation had become complicated, but Lin Feng was in a good mood. Although many people would be involved, whether it was the dragon clan entering the Spirit Abyss Mountain or the ape clan dealing with him, it would actually be more beneficial for him to force Golden Cicada out of his hiding place. Golden Cicada was also well aware of this. Everyone had their pros and cons. As for who would have the last laugh, it would depend on their own means. Although it was said that two worlds were facing each other now, with the human race and the demon race standing side by side, in fact, dating back to the primordial era, it should be said that hundreds of races existed side by side, or even thousands of races. At the end of the day, different demon races were also different races. It was just that their cultivation methods were the same, and they were at odds with the human race. Therefore, after the ancient times, the medieval times, and even the present era, the concept of the demon race gradually came into being. However, the wariness and personal enmity between them would only be more serious than between the major forces of the human race. To the human race, the demon race could be said to be full of treasures. Many of the raw materials or embryos of Dharma treasures were even taken from the true bodies of the demon race. However, on the other hand, after devouring the essence spirits, flesh, and souls of human mighty figures and digesting them, it was also a great supplement for the demon race experts. To the demon race experts, devouring and refining the flesh, blood, and souls of other demons was also a great supplement. It was not only the Tao Tai that devoured other demons. The demon race often attacked each other, but most of the other demons' digestive abilities were not as outstanding as the Tao Tai. For many great demons, Golden Cicada's flesh and blood were very attractive, because Golden Cicada's supernatural power was very unique. Although the cicada's shedding of carapace was not like Lin Feng's mysterious heavenly escape or Taishu Temple's universal Taishu mystic light, which could completely avoid the Dharma ending tribulation, it was also quite mysterious. Because of this supernatural power, Golden Cicada, who had completely passed the initial tribulation and reached the Dharma-ending realm, was one of the people who could withstand the Dharma-ending tribulation the most among the experts of the same realm. Mighty figures whose combat strength was above his might not be able to withstand as many Dharma-ending tribulation as he did. For Golden Cicada, his strongest combat method was actually to fight with others against the Dharma-ending tribulation. This was his strength. But no matter how much he could resist it, when the Dharma-ending tribulation really came to him, he would not feel good. Therefore, Golden Cicada would not use this method of killing 1,000 people at the expense of 800 people. During the reign of Jihuang Xinyuan, Golden Cicada had not gone through the tribulation, so it was not very useful for others to devour his flesh and blood, so no one thought about it. But now, Golden Cicada had reached the Dharma-ending realm, and he suddenly became a hot commodity. If he devoured the flesh and blood of a great demon at the peak of the astral soul fusion realm, the success rate and safety of his tribulation would be greatly increased. Or, if he devoured the flesh and blood of a great demon who had survived the tribulation, he would recover from the degeneration tribulation in a very short time, and his demonic power would return to its peak. Naturally, a great demon in the realm of astral soul oneness could not do anything to Golden Cicada, let alone take his flesh and blood. However, other great demons in the realm of Dharma ending had to fight for the welfare of their subordinates. Therefore, Golden Cicada had been in hiding all these years, carefully hiding his whereabouts. He would only appear occasionally to avoid being surrounded and hunted by other great demons. This demon's ability to escape was indeed heaven-defying, and he was also cautious, so he was still alive and well until now. Therefore, Lin Feng was not annoyed by Golden Cicada's revelation that he had come to infinite wilderness. His response was very simple. If you reveal it, I'll reveal it too. He would also spread the news that he was here to find Golden Cicada, and that he had clues to find Golden Cicada. He would announce Golden Cicada's general location to the public. Although there was still a possibility of conflict with other great demons, these great demons could also help him dig out the old cicada that liked to drill into the ground faster. Along the way, he saw a mountain range suddenly appear on the horizon. It was rather special. The top of the mountain and the slopes were pure white, crystal clear and translucent. Upon closer inspection, there were many strange white jades on the surface of the mountain. They were lustrous and dazzling, overflowing with spiritual chi that was intoxicating. At the foot of the mountain was a fiery red. Blazing fire chi soared into the sky, like a sea of fire or a sea of magma. It was not a real flame, but the condensation of a mineral vein. The fire elemental spiritual chi was oppressive, and the mineral vein was directly exposed on the surface. It was an extremely high-quality red smelting fire copper mine with a huge reserve. Red smelting fire copper, dark light enigmatic iron, evil warding purple gold, and other materials were collectively known as the 6 great rare metals of heaven and earth. They were excellent materials for human cultivators to refine artifacts, especially for refining weapons and magic treasures. The red smelting fire copper mine at the foot of this mountain range might not be the largest in the entire heaven primordial world, but its quality was almost the best. Seeing that the mountain was full of white jade and the mountain range was full of fire copper, Lin Feng immediately understood. So we've arrived at Xiaozi Mountain. Xiaozi Mountain, west of Lingyuan Mountain, was the habitat of the Zhuyan demonic apes among the apes. During a war between the two worlds in the Middle Era, the Shu Mountain Sword sect had ambushed this place for the red smelting fire copper mine of Xiaozi Mountain. The sword ancestor, Ren Changmei, had killed the leader of the Zhuyan tribe at that time with the celestial heavenly sword. In the end, as soon as they retreated, they were chased by Jihuang Xinyuan to Shu Mountain and were almost annihilated. The Zhuyan tribe had always been a strong tribe among the primordial demonic apes. The current Zhuyan Great Sage was the second in command of the primordial demonic ape tribe. Chapter 896. Lin Feng did not deliberately keep a high profile, nor did he deliberately hide his aura. Along the way, his divine sense kept sweeping the places he passed, searching for Golden Cicada. As soon as he stepped into the boundary of the lesser secondary mountain, the mountain range, which was made of white jade and fiery copper, shook slightly. Then, a huge illusory light shadow shrouded the mountain range. The light shadow looked like an ape, with a white head and red feet, somewhat similar to the color of the lesser secondary mountain. Its 4 crimson limbs propped up on the ground like burning flames. Its body was incomparably huge, as if it could support the heavens and the earth. A pair of crimson eyes flashing with blue light stared silently at Lin Feng. Lin Feng looked at him. As expected of the current Zhuyan sage. Judging from the fluctuations of his demonic aura, I'm afraid he has already begun to experience the tribulation. I wonder if he has completely completed the first tribulation. It was rumored that when Zhuyan appeared, there would be war. At this moment, Lin Feng could feel a restless aura pervading the air, encouraging all living beings in the world to fight fiercely with each other. This was similar to the power of the Azura Saber's killing intent. However, one was encouraging people to kill each other, while the other was simply fighting. There was a slight difference. However, the bewitching aura exuded by Zhu Yan's sage was much thicker than that of the Azura saber. They were not on the same level at all. Zhu Yan's sage stared at Lin Feng and said, "Are you Lin Feng, the master of the divine land of Xianmen-Tianzong? Have you come for Golden Cicada?" Lin Feng smiled faintly. "Since Zhu Yan's sage already knows, do you have any information for me?" Great Saint Zhu Yan cracked his mouth, revealing his snow-white teeth. Although he was just a mass of light and shadow, there seemed to be hot air spewing out from his bloody mouth that could swallow the heavens and devour the earth, making the area around the small mountain even hotter and hotter. "Although you have never participated in the war between the two realms, you are a human after all. Our Zhu Yan race has never been on good terms with the human race." The great sage Zhu Yan said through his spiritual consciousness. "However, the human tribe we hate the most is the Mount Shu sword sect. You have broken the fairy heaven sword and flattened Mount Shu. Even though you are fighting among yourselves, we still want to say that we are happy. Golden Cicada is good at hiding. This time, even with the general location provided by your excellency, it won't be that easy to find. I also want to get some flesh and blood from this old friend to nourish the children of the clan." Lin Feng said calmly, "I destroyed the immortal heaven with my sword to settle the grudge between me and Shushan. I had no intention of doing anything else. If you find Golden Cicada and have news for me, I will save myself some time. If you don't have any news, I will spend more time on my own. Golden Cicada kidnapped my grand disciple while I was in seclusion. I came to Infinite Mainland this time to settle the score with him. Golden Cicada's flesh and blood were mainly for the demon race to undergo the tribulation. It was not very useful for human cultivators. However, just because Lin Feng did not want it did not mean that he would give it to the demon race and let them grow stronger for nothing. The great sage Zhu Yan naturally knew this. When the time came, it would depend on who would come out on top. Moreover, Golden Cicada was not easy to deal with. It would be extremely difficult to deal with this old G. After all, the six-horned divine monkey tribe and my Zhu Yan race are of the same origin. Your disciple killed the six-horned great sage's grand disciple. There is no need for me to risk my life to avenge him, but I have to give the Tongtian sect an explanation." The great sage Zhu Yan said, "I have long heard that the master of the Xianmen sect is the number one among the rising human cultivators in the divine land in recent years. Sun-chasing Zhu Yan is untalented, so I would like to have a spar with you. The Blue Sky Dragon King will be here soon. If you defeat me, I will stop him for you and help you find Golden Cicada. If you find Golden Cicada, you will have the priority to deal with him. If you lose, there is no need to say anything else. If you find Golden Cicada, you can take back your grand disciple, but you have to hand Golden Cicada to me." Among the primordial demonic apes, the six-horned divine monkey and the Tongtian demonic ape were very close, but not the Zhu Yan demonic ape. The great sage Zhu Yan would not fight to the death with Lin Feng for the sake of a junior like the six-horned divine monkey. Regardless of the outcome, asking Lin Feng to hand over Shi Tianhao would definitely result in a fight to the death. Therefore, the great sage Zhu Yan thought that even if he won, he would not try to ask Lin Feng to hand over Shi Tianhao. To him, Golden Cicada's flesh and blood were much more important. Lin Feng's illustrious reputation in the divine land was not earned with words, but with his fists. Although he rarely set foot in the infinite wilderness, he was equally infamous. In any case, the demon world and the human world had been at war for so many years. Even if they did not personally witness Lin Feng's actual strength, they knew the general strength of the Mount Shu sword sect, as well as the strength of the celestial heaven sword, the Taiyuan Palace, the Immortal Dragon City, and the Taishu Temple. If the Tongtian demonic ape, the current leader of the apes, was here, and he was standing on the main peak of the Spirit Abyss Mountain, the ancestral land of the apes, great sage Zhu Yan might have a different opinion. However, the great sage had gone to attack the Taihua Mountain of the Taishu Temple and had yet to return. Great sage Zhu Yan would naturally not fight to the death with Lin Feng alone. As for the Blue Sky Dragon King, he was the leader of the Blue Dragon tribe of the primordial celestial dragons in the Black Sea. The Blue Dragon tribe and the Brontosaurus had a close relationship. After learning that Lin Feng had come to the infinite wilderness, the Blue Sky Dragon King immediately rushed over. Lin Feng could roughly determine Golden Cicada's location through the Cicada Golden Alms Bowl, and Golden Cicada could also roughly determine Lin Feng's location. Otherwise, Golden Cicada would have been surrounded by Great Sage Zhu Yan and the others. As far as Great Sage Zhu Yan knew, the Blue Sky Dragon King was only the vanguard, and the experts of the dragon tribe would come later. After learning that Lin Feng had come to the infinite wilderness, many big demons expressed a warm welcome to him. As soon as Great Sage Zhu Yan finished speaking, the giant ape silhouette that shrouded the sky above the small world mountain suddenly let out a long hiss, and the sky suddenly split open. At the level that Lin Feng and the others were at, the spatial distance was no longer of much significance. Their magical powers were unleashed, and their huge bodies could change tens of thousands of miles, hundreds of thousands of miles, millions of miles, or even tens of millions of miles at will. They could even fill the galaxy and universe with a thought. The immortal dragon city looked like the Great Wall that stretched millions of miles across the void, but in fact, as long as one wanted to, its length could really exceed time and space, with no end. In the eyes of Lin Feng and the others, there was no concept of height and length most of the time. However, now that Great Sage Zhu Yan let out a long hiss, the dark void was revealed. The giant ape silhouette used all four of its claws and climbed up as if stepping on an invisible staircase. Its claws danced with fire, leaving behind flaming footprints that lingered in the void. Lin Feng stared at the staircase that seemed to be completely non-existent, and he had a new concept of height. He felt that Great Sage Zhu Yan was climbing higher and higher, as if he was above the universe and overlooking the world. Is he trying to see who can climb higher than me? Lin Feng raised his eyebrows slightly when he saw this. In many people's view, this was a way to expose one's own shortcomings and make people laugh at a monkey for being a monkey. But that was because people thought that they were more advanced than monkeys, so they would laugh at monkeys, and the saying that monkeys were crowned as monkeys came about. However, for a big demon like Great Sage Zhu Yan, it was uncertain who was more advanced than who, so he naturally did not feel that there was anything wrong with his behavior. On the contrary, he attached great importance to the battle with Lin Feng, so he used the method that he was best at to increase his chances of winning. Lin Feng naturally understood Great Sage Zhu Yan's thinking. He did not laugh at Great Sage Zhu Yan because of this, but it did not mean that he would compete according to the rules set by Great Sage Zhu Yan. He had no intention of capturing and killing Great Sage Zhu Yan to extort a confession by torture. That would be too much of a waste of time, and it would also be a joke to Golden Cicada. This time, Lin Feng came to the vast land of infinite wilderness alone, and he had no intention of going back quietly. But first, he had to find Zhou Yunsong and bring him back. Then, even if it meant going all out, he would wander around the demon realm. Although he knew that Zhou Yunsong was safe and sound at the moment, Golden Cicada could not have kidnapped him, a cultivator of the Golden Elixir period, to treat him to a meal. How could Lin Feng allow Golden Cicada to make trouble for him? Looking at the invisible stairs and flaming footprints under Great Sage Zhu Yan's feet, Lin Feng already knew the challenge. On the one hand, it was a competition to see who could climb higher in the control of the mysteries of space-time and the changes of magic power. On the other hand, if Lin Feng moved now, the condensed flaming footprints left by Great Sage Zhu Yan in the void would also become an obstacle for Lin Feng. Stepping on the sky and walking in the void seemed simple. A cultivator of the Golden Elixir period or a demon commander who had formed the demon corps could do it. But when they stepped on the void, it was completely different from what Great Sage Zhu Yan was doing at the moment. Step by step, Great Sage Zhu Yan walked up. Every step seemed to transcend time and space. It was extremely mysterious, as if he was walking on the universe and the river of time. Even some human tribe Dao integration stage cultivators or demon tribe greater demons who had fused their astral souls into one wouldn't even be able to take a single step forward, let alone compete with him. They could only watch on helplessly as they took a single step forward with nowhere to land. The lingering flaming footprints in the void seemed to be the power of Great Sage Zhu Yan's step. At the moment, they seemed to be condensed and not released, but if the power of any of the footprints really exploded, it would be like the sky and earth collapsing. What Great Sage Zhu Yan meant was a civil competition, not a real fight. But for Lin Feng, a civil competition and a martial competition were the same. There was no difference. He stood calmly in the same place and did not move his feet. He just stretched out his right hand and grabbed the invisible stairs under Great Sage Zhu Yan's feet. Suddenly, the space-bounded domain kept compressing and twisting, as if it had turned into an invisible hand and grabbed the stairs under Great Sage Zhu Yan's feet. It was the heavenly capture technique derived from Lin Feng's heavenly realm barrier technique. After grabbing the stairs, Lin Feng's eyes were as calm as water, as if the river of time was flowing. But at this moment, the river seemed to be flowing slower and slower, as if it had fallen into a state of stagnation. The invisible hand that was grabbing the stairs suddenly emitted a layer of chaotic and hazy brilliance, spreading to the surroundings. Everything became hazy and unclear, as if there was only a dim grayish-white left. It was the celestial ultimate cosmic light. After Lin Feng returned to the void realm, he could also use this technique that exhausted the changes of the Great Way of Time. Being grabbed by the heavenly capture technique that was enhanced with the celestial aura of eternity, the stairs under Great Sage Zhu Yan's feet shook violently, as if they were about to disintegrate into nothingness. In Great Sage Zhu Yan's blood-red eyes, green light surged wildly. In the void, the light shadow of the giant ape that seemed to be stepping on the heavens suddenly began to materialize. It turned out to be his true form. Chapter 897. An invisible giant hand grabbed the space-time stairway beneath Great Saint Zhu Yan's feet. The chaotic and hazy light of the cosmic pole spread around and kept extending. Everything in the world that came into contact with this light seemed to lose its color. The drifting clouds in the sky froze, like pieces of rock suspended in the air. The shining stars in the void above all stopped flashing and maintained their previous appearance, as if the real starry sky had turned into an artificial painting. On the second mountain below, the white jade that was shining with luster also became sluggish. The hot steam from the red smelting fire copper vein at the foot of the mountain also turned into wisps of smoke, but it was like a withered tree trunk growing out of the vein, standing there stiffly. The only thing that moved between heaven and earth was the seemingly invisible stairway beneath Great Saint Zhu Yan's feet. Shrouded by the light of the cosmic pole and held by Lin Feng's all-heavens capture, the originally invisible stairway shook violently, on the verge of disintegration and collapse. The master of the celestial gate deserves his reputation. In Great Saint Zhu Yan's blood-red eyes, blue light surged. He looked up to the sky and roared. The giant ape-like shadow climbing in the sky gradually turned into a solid body, and the earth-shaking violent blood spread. After revealing his true form, Great Saint Zhu Yan's figure shrank a lot. He was a giant ape with a white head and bare feet, and he looked only 100 feet tall. However, that berserk power was shocking. It was as if he could tear the sky apart with his bare hands with just his physical body. Although Shi Tianhao, Wang Lin, and the others were swept up by Lin Feng's supernatural power, they could still see the process of the battle between the two sides. Shi Tianhao's eyes flashed, and he looked up and down at Great Saint Zhu Yan in the void. He is the person with the strongest physical strength out of all of Lin Feng's disciples. Even Xiao Yan, who is also at the primordial spirit stage, refining the two-phase battle-turn god stone to reconstruct the body of a primordial spirit stage martial artist, just based on physical strength he is also inferior to him. Shi Tianhao, who was in the primordial divinity incarnation realm, could compete with most martial arts experts in the path integration realm, or the great saint of the demon clan who had merged the star soul into one. But at this moment, Great Saint Zhu Yan's physical strength was far above his. Great Saint Zhu Yan revealed his true form. He roared and stomped down with all four limbs, once again stabilizing the invisible space-time stairway. The flaming footprints on the stairway began to explode, one by one, to blow up Lin Feng's light of the cosmic pole and all heavens capture. This was originally prepared by the great sage Zhu Yan to stop Lin Feng from climbing the stairs, but now he was already very lucky to be able to protect the stairs, so he naturally couldn't care about that anymore. Lin Feng quietly felt the power of Zhu Yan the great sage and nodded slightly. I haven't completely finished the first tribulation, but since the last tribulation, I have returned to the peak state of my current cultivation. If I'm not mistaken, this demon is not far from completing his tribulation. At most, he only needs 1 or 2 more blight tribulations to complete his tribulation. This demon is still holding back a little, but I can roughly estimate it. Without revealing his true form, he is probably about the same as Mount Shu's empty-handed sword Venerable Firmament. After revealing his true form, he can easily defeat Sword Venerable Firmament and Ancient Sword Venerable Firmament. Lin Feng calculated in his heart. Even though he has not directly fought with Venerable Swordsman Firmament before, but when he transformed the Great Immortal Thousand Phenomenon Sword Formation into the Heaven-Punishing Sword Formation, Venerable Swordsman Firmament tried to stop him and he activated the Golden Paramitha Bridge to intercept him. He still has a general understanding of Venerable Swordsman Firmament's strength. As for the strength of Celestial Dipper Sword Venerable and Celestial Heaven Sword, Lin Feng had a very accurate grasp. Not considering the Dharma ending tribulation, just comparing divine sense and Dharma power, this demon's true form is similar to the combination of Celestial Dipper Sword Venerable and Celestial Heaven Sword Venerable. If Celestial Dipper Sword Venerable controls the Celestial Heaven Sword Venerable, then this Zhu Yan demon is no match. While thinking, Lin Feng's hands did not stop. The light of the cosmic pole was still activated to hold the invisible spacetime stairway. At the same time, rays of 7-colored light flashed on his body and circled around his body. These rays of 7-colored light flowed together to the invisible giant hand and merged with the light of the cosmic pole. The mysterious heavenly release was called an escape technique, but it was not just a teleportation escape technique. It was a technique that deduced the changes of time and space to the highest level, and at the same time, integrated many other great Taoists of heaven and earth into it. This technique was used to avoid the Dharma ending tribulation. When Lin Feng used it, there was a limit to the number of times he could use it. However, it was much simpler to use it to avoid the explosive attack of Zhu Yan's flaming footprints. As the 7-colored light moved rhythmically, the explosive power of the flaming footprints all fell into thin air. Zhu Yan's eyes widened. It's not just the Tao of spatial transformation, it's not just the Tao of illusory transformation. Even Bai Yulong, who is at the same realm as me, can't avoid it so easily with his innate divine sense. The power of the mysterious heavenly release was not only used for defense, but it was also combined with the light of the cosmic pole. Together, they enhanced the great capture of the heavens, shaking the invisible space-time stairway under Zhu Yan's feet. Lin Feng's expression was calm, and his eyes were shining. A large number of runes appeared in the void, enhancing the invisible giant hand that was holding the stairway. Endless runes were attached to the invisible giant hand, emitting layers of brilliance. It made the originally invisible giant hand seem to have become a palm made entirely of light. In the brilliance, a large number of runes and patterns surged, turning into magic formations one after another. They rose and fell, connecting into one. Finally, it seemed as if a huge magic formation was engraved on the palm of light. Life and death, illusory reality, heaven and earth, eternity and instant, yin and yang, light and darkness. 6 powerful conceptions of opposing extremes appeared on the palm at the same time. It was the 6 transformations of life and death of Lin Feng's yin and yang life and death formation. This was because Lin Feng had thoroughly deduced the various changes of the yin and yang life and death formation. He knew it like the back of his hand and integrated it into his own supernatural power. He casually used his supernatural power to transform the formation into a spell, and the yin and yang life and death formation into the yin and yang life and death technique. Li Yuanfang, who was wrapped up by Lin Feng's supernatural power but was still able to watch the battle, widened his eyes, fascinated. A powerful formation cultivator could casually set up a formation without the help of treasures and terrain. However, the power of a formation that was set up in a hurry was certainly not as good as that of a formation that was meticulously set up. However, this kind of formation generally did not include a powerful formation like the Mountain Gate formation. This was because these formations needed to be driven by the power of heaven and earth to have unpredictable power. It was also for this reason that the yin and yang life and death formation of Xianmen Tianzong and the 9 light sky-shattering formation of the demon clan were so precious. To be able to turn such a powerful formation into a spell and set it up casually, it was not only a matter of having a high cultivation and powerful supernatural power, but also a great attainment in formation. As far as Li Yuanfang knew, from ancient times to the present, there were no more than 5 people who could casually set up such a powerful formation like the yin and yang life and death formation. Today, except for Lin Feng, there was no one who could do it. In the past, Taiwan Venerable of the Taishu Temple was able to turn his own 7 lights defensive formation into 7 lights defensive technique, which was already the most amazing performance at that time. However, the 7 lights defensive formation was inferior to the yin and yang life and death formation of the Supreme Void. Regardless of the comprehensive strength and cultivation, at least in the attainment of formation, Lin Feng was sure to win. Looking at the scene in front of him, Li Yuanfang felt dazzled and intoxicated. 6 changes and 3 laws, reversal of 2 poles, qi. Lin Feng's calm voice echoed between heaven and earth. The changes of yin and yang life and death formation in the shining big hands suddenly produced a huge force of reversal and distortion. The invisible spacetime stairs that had been fixed by the real body of Zhu Yan suddenly shook again at this moment, shaking incessantly as if it would shatter at any moment. Zhu Yan stood on the invisible spacetime stairs, staring at Lin Feng below. Yes, rumor has it that although he combined the power of many treasures to attack Shu Mountain, he himself, except for using the strange 7-colored treasure light escape method to avoid the Dharma-ending tribulation of Tiangang of Shu Mountain, he almost only used swordsmanship to fight against the swords of Shu Mountain. Zhu Yan sighed. Although he had not exerted his full strength, he knew that Lin Feng had not exerted his full strength either. Not to mention whether Lin Feng had other hidden means, the whole Tianyuan world knew that at least Lin Feng still had the divine light of creation. Suppressing the space-time stairs actually could not fully reflect the power of the real body of Zhu Yan. In actual combat, there were infinite changes. But similarly, if this was a real combat, Lin Feng's heaven-punishing sword Qi would directly stab at him. Master of the Celestial Gate, good move. Zhu Yan admits defeat. Zhu Yan shook his head and did not continue to fight to the end. Otherwise, if everyone fought with all their strength and still could not defeat Lin Feng, it would be really embarrassing if Lin Feng directly broke the stairs and threw him down from the void. After saying this, Zhu Yan directly dispersed the invisible stairs. Lin Feng did not go too far. With a wave of his robe sleeve, all kinds of magic powers were withdrawn together. The invisible big hand flashing with layers of light instantly disappeared. Zhu Yan's real body of Zhu Yan also disappeared, and the huge shadow of the giant ape reappeared on the top of the small mountain. Looking at Lin Feng, it opened its mouth and spat out another Zhu Yan demonic ape. It was a Zhu Yan demonic ape in the primordial true spirit realm, but at the moment, it looked a little dispirited. Zhu Yan said, "Master of the Celestial Gate, please excuse me. This is a member of my clan." Before this, he provided a secret place for Golden Cicada to live in, but Golden Cicada moved out not long ago. I checked that place and found something. As he said this, a light shadow flew out of one of Zhu Yan's eyes and landed in front of Lin Feng. There was no real body in the light shadow, just some faint light. Lin Feng glanced at it and found that it was the trace of Dharma power left by Golden Cicada. With Golden Cicada's cultivation level at the Dharma-ending realm, he should not have been caught by the great sage Zhu Yan. However, Lin Feng chased him all the way like herding a sheep, making him have no choice but to keep moving. In the end, he still left some traces. It was impossible for great Saint Zhu Yan to find Golden Cicada with just this little trace. But Lin Feng, with the cicada wings and the golden alms bowl in hand, and this little clue, finding Golden Cicada became a little more convenient. Lin Feng put away the light shadow and was about to speak when his heart slightly moved. He looked into the distance and saw that the sky had turned into a dark green. Chapter 898. Lin Feng looked into the distant sky and saw that the world had turned completely green. It wasn't a dark green flash, nor was it a cloud or mist. Instead, everything in the world, without exception, had turned dark green. The sky was green, the ground was green, the vegetation was green, the branches and leaves were green, the soil was green, the air was green, the clouds were green, and the light falling from the sky was green. The birds flying in the sky had dark green claws, feathers, beaks, and eyes. A brightly colored tiger was running on the ground. Its fur was dark green, and its stripes were also dark green. However, the color of the stripes was slightly darker than the rest. There seemed to be an invisible dividing line between heaven and earth, dividing the world in front of him into two parts. One part was still the same, and the other was completely green. And now, this green world was constantly pushing toward Lin Feng's feet. In the green world, there was a mass of auspicious clouds, from which a mighty dragon might was exuding, making people feel endless majesty, as if a high and mighty king was calmly looking down on his subjects. Great sage Zhu Yan also saw the other party. He grinned, revealing a mouthful of white teeth, and laughed soundlessly. In fact, in terms of cultivation and strength, he was almost on par with the other party. However, in terms of appearance, the first impression that the other party gave was that the other party was like a noble descendant of the heavens, noble beyond words, while he was like a bandit leader or a mountain king. The person who came was an expert of the primordial celestial dragon clan, Blue Sky Dragon King, the clan lord of the Blue Dragon clan. Like Zhu Yan, he was a great demon in the early stage of tribulation. Zhu Yan looked at Lin Feng and said, "Since I lost just now, I will keep my promise. Please sit for a moment, I will send this blue dragon away." In the auspicious clouds of the green world, a majestic voice came, "Sun chasing Zhu Yan, step back. This has nothing to do with you, don't interfere in the affairs of the dragon clan." Zhu Yan laughed and said, "Blue Sky, this is the ancestral land of the Zhu Yan clan, a small mountain. It is not a place where you can shout and shout." The battle between him and Lin Feng was a civil one, not a real fight. Naturally, he wouldn't use the power of the ancestral land, but his own magic power. The small mountain was the ancestral land of the Zhu Yan clan. It had been built for a long time, just like the protective formation of the human clan. If they left the small mountain, he and the Blue Sky Dragon King would not be able to do anything to each other. However, if they fought on the small mountain, he had the geographical advantage and was confident that he would be able to make the Blue Sky Dragon King suffer. The auspicious clouds rolled in the green world, revealing their anger. Zhu Yan Great Saint sneered at the other party. In the ancient era, the death of the absolute emperor and a large number of dragon race experts caused the dragon race to fall into an unprecedented period of weakness. The primordial demon ape race seized the opportunity and replaced the dragon race's ruling position in Infinite Mainland. By the Middle Era, the extreme king had fallen, and many of the apes had died in the war between the two worlds. The dragons, on the other hand, had recuperated and regained their strength. Gradually, they began to suppress the apes again. Although the dragons couldn't rule the world again because of the rise of the Yuta clan, they had been at odds with the apes since the ancient times. The relationship between the two clans had always been tense. Zhu Yan Great Saint and Blue Sky Dragon King had fought many times in the past. They had won and lost to each other, and there were many grudges between them. The Blue Sky Dragon King and the Great Saint Zhu Yan wanted to say more, but Lin Feng frowned slightly and said, "Great Saint Zhu Yan, I appreciate your kindness, but I don't have the time to stay here any longer. I still have to find Golden Cicada." He looked at the Blue Sky Dragon King. "Your Red Thunder Dragon King wanted to raise the illusory sea tide to stop me from taking the Yingzhou Celestial Mountain. I didn't want to kill him, but he was stubborn and wanted to make trouble for me. That's why I ended him. The Dragon Clan indeed has many experts. You can come to me to avenge him, but you can't." A thunderous roar came from the green clouds. "Master of Xian Men, you are too arrogant." Amidst the roar, the green world expanded rapidly and shrouded Lin Feng. However, the unique green dragon flames of the Jade Dragon clan were nowhere to be seen. The dragon flames of the Jade Dragon clan were different from the dragon fire of the Fire Dragon clan, as well as any other flames in the world. They were neither yin nor yang, but they were very good at breaking other people's divine arts and magic power. They were like maggots on bones, extremely difficult to extinguish. The ancient treasure of the heavenly gates, the sacrificial method of the Western heavenly jade light needle, incorporated many principles. One of them came from the inspiration of the Jade Dragon clan's dragon flames. Although it was different, it was similar. Strictly speaking, it was similar to the true water of the Blood River and the true water of the Netherworld. The green dragon flames of the blue sky dragon king had been completely refined into a world of treasure light. Wherever the green world shrouded, the opponent's divine arts and magic power would be broken without any special action. In this world, the opponent's divine arts, paths, and skills would be broken as soon as they thought about it. It was as if they were restricted, and they couldn't use any divine arts. This was a forbidden world completely formed by the green dragon flames. Lin Feng shook his head and didn't say anything. He held his right index and middle fingers together like a sword. A sword light flashed at his fingertip. It was the sky-destroying sword aura. However, the sky-destroying sword aura was different from before. It was no longer dark and murderous gray. Instead, it was like when the sky-destroying sword was completely sharpened. It was a chaotic and blurry color. It was as if everything in the world of creation was coming to an end. An actual apocalypse sword will float out. Wherever the sword light went, everything was annihilated and returned to nothingness. The fate of all things was exhausted, and they were heading towards the end. Lin Feng stabbed out with his sword. That chaotic and blurry sword light cut through the blue sky dragon king's forbidden world like a hot knife through butter. The blue sky dragon king exclaimed in surprise. He realized that his forbidden world couldn't break Lin Feng's sky-destroying sword aura. Instead, Lin Feng's sky-destroying sword aura broke his green world. Wherever the sword light went, even the green world, which could break all kinds of skills, was going to be destroyed and ended. Lin Feng's sky-destroying sword aura was unimpeded. The blue sky dragon king's forbidden world couldn't stop it at all. In the blink of an eye, the sword light had hit the green cloud. The blue sky dragon king let out another dragon roar that shook the heavens. Amidst the dragon roar, a huge figure suddenly flashed in the dark green auspicious clouds. It was faintly discernible, and dense demonic energy and blood energy were released at the same time. It was as if the entire world had turned into a great furnace. Facing Lin Feng's sword, the blue sky dragon king didn't dare to be careless. He directly revealed his true form. Although he was still elusive in the cloud, his powerful strength showed everything. The green forbidden world suddenly froze. It was like a huge piece of amber, trying to trap the sky-destroying sword aura. However, the sky-destroying sword aura only paused for a moment before continuing forward, cutting through the green cloud. The cloud dissipated, and the blue sky dragon king finally revealed his true form. It was an extremely huge green dragon that stretched across the sky. It had the head of a cow, the antlers of a deer, the eyes of a shrimp, the ears of an elephant, the neck of a snake, the scales of a fish, the claws of a phoenix, and the paws of a tiger. As the scales opened and closed, the sky was filled with dragon might. His breath formed clouds, and his entire body was green. In the void, a beam of green light fell to the ground. It was a dragon scale. The blue sky dragon king stared at Lin Feng deeply. He had revealed his true form, but he had still lost by one move. He roared into the sky. Master of the celestial sect of wonders, I lost to you by one move today. However, the dragon race will have stronger experts to find you. Lin Feng's expression was calm, but there was a faint black and white light in his eyes. I'll be waiting for you at any time. However, I have something to do now and have no time to chat with you. If you don't leave now, don't ever think of leaving. He had a vague feeling that he could see the world. It seemed that Golden Cicada's plan was not far from succeeding. He needed to hurry. The blue sky dragon king saw the divine light in Lin Feng's eyes. After a moment of silence, he turned and disappeared into the void. The green world instantly went far away. Peace was restored between heaven and earth. The colors of everything in the world returned to normal. After Lin Feng spoke, Great Saint Zhu Yan did not continue to speak. He watched quietly as Lin Feng repelled the enemy with a single stroke of his sword. He now had a faint sense of foreboding. His hopes of finding golden cicada through Lin Feng and obtaining his flesh and blood seemed to be plummeting. Lin Feng did not say anything else after the blue sky dragon king retreated. He flicked his finger, and the light he had obtained from Great Saint Zhu Yan fell into the golden alms bowl. The cicada's wings covered the alms bowl, and thousands of mysterious runes appeared one after another. Lin Feng looked up at the sky. He took a step forward and disappeared from where he stood. The light and shadow that Great Saint Zhu Yan had covered the sky above the lesser secondary mountain also disappeared. The invisible space-time staircase appeared again. Great Saint Zhu Yan stepped on it and followed closely behind Lin Feng. In the Divine Land, in a cave residence on White Cloud Mountain, there were no tables or chairs, only a few simple futons. There were people sitting on the praying mats, forming a circle. Some of them were real people, and some were projections of magic power. Two of the projections were a cold girl who looked 13 or 14 years old, and a handsome young man who looked about 20 years old. They were Lord Qing Yi and Lord Xian Yi of the four elders of Taishu Temple. In front of them, there were real people and projections. They were Yun Yuanjin, Kai Fengzhou, Lord Yu Yuan, and Lord Qing Ning, who were also members of the highest elders of Taishu Temple. The group of people sat in a circle and did not speak. They all closed their eyes and rested. It was not until a young man dressed in cyan appeared in the cave abode that Tao Master Qing Yi and the others opened their eyes and looked at the young man. "Dao Han, sit," Lord Qing Yi said. Tao Master Qing Yi said. The young man was naturally Lin Daohan. After he bowed to everyone present, he sat down cross-legged on a praying mat. No one spoke. Lin Daohan said silently, "According to the news from the vast land of infinite wasteland, the master of the Daoist sect defeated Great Saint Zhu Yan in a battle of mana and forced the Blue Sky Dragon King to retreat. If the rumors are true, his divine sense and mana are even stronger than when he was on Mount Shu. His swordsmanship has also improved. After the celestial heaven destruction, besides the complete sharpening of his heaven-crushing sword, his swordsmanship has also improved. The celestial heaven sword has been broken. At this moment, if he goes to Mount Shu for a sword battle, I'm afraid no one on Mount Shu can resist him alone, even if he is empty-handed." Chapter 899. After Lin Daohan finished speaking, Tao Master Qing Yi said slowly, "Daohan, summarize your experience over the years." Junior brother Xian Yi and martial nephew Qing Ning have been in closed-door training before, so they don't know much about Xianmen Tianzong. "Yes, martial uncle." Lin Daohan bowed slightly, looked at Tao Master Xian Yi and Tao Master Qing Ning, and said, "For now, the master of Xianmen has great ambitions. It's a bit too much to say that he's the king of the underworld, the ruthless emperor, or the primordial devil lord, but at least he's another heaven emperor and another sword ancestor. Mount Shu has been destroyed, and according to the strength he has shown now, he's even vaguely above the Elysium of the past. Especially the master of Xianmen has always been unpredictable, so I tend to overestimate him." Tao Master Qing Ning looked calm. Then, as junior brother Kuang said, "We'll deal with him like how we dealt with the Elysium and Mount Shu in the past. You often say that the disciples of the master of Xianmen are all monsters. What's the specific situation?" For the people of the Taishu Temple, the geniuses in the eyes of ordinary people were not geniuses in their eyes, because any disciple of the Taishu Temple was at least such a genius. It was even more so for the members of the highest elders guild, such as Tao Master Qing Ning. After so many years, they had become numb to the geniuses in their own sect, let alone the geniuses in the outside world. There seemed to be a faint smile on Lin Daohan's face, which had always been calm and emotionless. He said, "To be honest, martial uncle Qing Ning, when facing Xiao Yan, Zhu Yi, Wang Lin, and Shi Tianhao, I'm ashamed of my inferiority in the primordial spirit incarnation realm." As soon as he said this, Tao Master Qing Ning's eyes suddenly flashed. "Oh. You are truly a monster among monsters. Apart from Uncle Master Tai, none of the human cultivators I've seen in my life have been able to defeat you in the same realm. Although Dao Master Qing Ning was a generation younger than Dao Master Tai Daoist, Dao Master Qing Yi, and Dao Master Xian Yi, he had actually entered the sect much earlier than Dao Master Tai Daoist. Although he was a generation younger, if one were to consider the time he entered the sect, he was even earlier than Dao Master Qing Yi and Dao Master Xian Yi. In the past, Lord Qing Ning was also a genius who received much attention in the Taishu Temple, but he spent a considerable part of his energy on alchemy. This old man was not only the #1 alchemist in the Taishu Temple, but could also be considered the #1 alchemist in the entire Divine Land. Lin Daohan nodded. I've seen the traces left by Uncle Master Qing Yi in the battle when the Zhu family joined forces to attack Yujing Mountain. In that battle, the four of them successively reached the primordial spirit realm and displayed extremely powerful strength. Among them, Zhu Yi successfully refined the white jade pillar from Yingzhou Immortal Mountain into the golden Permitha Bridge, a creation magic treasure. Among the four of them, it seems that Zhu Yi has the golden Permitha Bridge with him. His strength can be considered the best under the master of the celestial sect. If we don't count magic treasures and only look at their magic power, the four of them can actually fight with Dao integration experts when they have just reached the primordial spirit realm. It's really amazing. Among them, if Xiao Yan, the eldest disciple of the master of the celestial sect, can use his true fire fusion method to produce a fiery lotus that combines 5 kinds of true fire, he can be considered the best. Lin Daohan said slowly, although according to my conjecture, Xiao Yan would only have the strength to launch a single attack if it was the 5-colored fire lotus. I'm afraid that among the Dao integration experts who ascended Jade Jing Mountain that day, only the Hall Master of the Underworld Hall would be able to survive his 5-colored fire lotus. However, he would also be heavily injured. Therefore, the final result would most likely be that both sides would be heavily injured. Or perhaps the Hall Master of the Underworld Hall would risk his life and forcefully suppress his injuries to kill Xiao Yan. As for the others, if their sword hearts were stable in the past, they would be able to perish together with Xiao Yan. However, according to the state he was in when he climbed Yujing Mountain, he only has an 80% chance of perishing together with Xiao Yan. There's a 20% chance that he won't be able to kill Xiao Yan and will die first. Excluding the talisman of the reincarnation Taoist, with his own cultivation, Shi Tianfang can only pray that his reincarnation rebirth technique will not be broken, and he can be reborn in place of the dead. He can't resist it, and the chance of his rebirth is less than 50%. Xiao Dongtian and Zhang Enrui will be killed with one blow only by relying on their divine sense and dharma power. There's basically no hope of survival. As Lin Daohan spoke, he flicked his fingers and 2 shadows appeared, showing 2 scenes. One was the scene when Xiao Yan flattened the ancestral land in the late stage of the golden elixir and used the 3 fiery lotus for the first time. The other scene was 2 years ago in the vast Thousand World, in the Ying Sea, when Yan Mingyue witnessed Xiao Yan using the 4-colored fiery lotus for the first time at the middle stage of the Yuanying period. After seeing the scene, Dao Master Qing Ning's eyes became serious and he nodded. What a violent divine sense! It can produce such a strong power of destruction. Although he will be exhausted after one blow, if he uses the 5-colored fiery lotus with his primordial spirit cultivation, it will indeed be as powerful as you said, and I'm afraid it will only be stronger. Yun Yuanjin said, even if he doesn't use this method, he can still defeat Xiao Dongtian and Zhang Enrui with his other divine senses. He can even kill one of them at the risk of being seriously injured. In this case, if he uses this method with a seriously injured body, he can kill another person, but he will also die completely. In other words, if it's not a siege, but a continuous one-on-one fight, it's possible that he can kill 2 Dao reunion experts at the same time. The others around him nodded in agreement. Lin Daohan continued, although Zhu Yi doesn't use his divine senses and dharma power to fight with others, based on his performance during the Yuanying period and the situation of using the golden Permitha bridge, the strength of him, Wang Lin, and Shi Tianhao is basically on par with that of Xiao Yan. In fact, the 3 of them are even slightly weaker than Xiao Yan when he uses the true fire fusion power. However, their divine senses and dharma power are not as violent as Xiao Yan's. It won't be difficult for them to defeat Xiao Dongtian and Zhang Enrui, and it won't be difficult for them to fight against Shi Tianfang and Shi Tianhao. However, they are most likely no match for the Temple Master of the Underworld Hall and Jia Luoshi. Of course, it's also very difficult for the Temple Master of the Underworld Hall and Jia Luoshi to defeat them, and it's almost impossible for them to kill them. However, if there are no special circumstances, they won't be able to endanger the lives of Jia Luoshi and Shi Tianfang. After a short pause, Lin Daohan continued, among them, Wang Lin's situation is a bit special. Because of his divine senses and dharma power, he has an advantage over the other three when facing the Temple Master of the Underworld Hall and Shi Tianfang. If disciple's observation is correct, he can defeat Shi Tianfang and won't be at a disadvantage when facing the Temple Master of the Underworld Hall. In addition, because of the special nature of his divine senses and dharma power, he should be the most difficult to kill among the four of them. Although he didn't have a chance to display his strength, I'm afraid he also has some extraordinary means of resurrection. On the other hand, Shi Tianhao has two divine lights of creation. The divine light of end is good at attacking, while the divine light of origin gives him an extremely strong recovery ability. Therefore, if he doesn't encircle them and instead fights them one-on-one, his actual performance is likely to exceed our expectations. After Lin Daohan finished speaking, he paused for a moment before continuing. In fact, compared to the master of the celestial sect, I think that his disciple, Wang Lin, is more likely to be a figure like the Ming and Li emperors and the primordial devil master. If it weren't for the master of the celestial sect, it would be really hard to predict what this person will do in the future. Dao Master Yu Yuan said coldly, you mean that we should thank the master of the celestial sect? Don't forget who cultivated Wang Lin. If the master of the celestial sect really cared, Wang Lin wouldn't have been able to reach where he is today even if he had been his disciple for many years. What's more, the master of the celestial sect has the nature of a tiger and a wolf. It's just that he is more shrewd than Wang Lin. Otherwise, it would be strange to have such a disciple. What if there were two or more? Shi Tianhao is not much better than Wang Lin. He is not as cruel, but he is even more lawless. The eldest disciple of the sect master, Xiao Yan, is slightly better, but not better. Looking at him, it reminds me of. At this point, Dao Master Yu Yuan paused for a moment and did not continue speaking. However, everyone present knew what he meant because they all had the same thought. Kai Fengzhou's face revealed a slight wry smile. On Xiao Yan, everyone in the Taishu temple could faintly see the shadow of a person. The leader of the four ancient heroes of the Taishu temple, other than the Taishu Taoist, he was the strongest in the history of the Taishu temple, Wen Qiyang. His cultivation was close to that of his master, the Taishu Taoist. After the Taishu Taoist and Gautama Buddha went to the Dead Sea, he overlooked all the experts in the divine land. In the war between the two worlds, he was one of the few fierce people who could suppress the Saint Emperor of the Demon Clan. Although the Saint Emperor of the Demon Clan at that time was not as strong as the three great demons, Wen Qiang's ability was still considered shocking and left a strong mark in the history of the entire Tianyuan world. However, for his sect, Wen Qiang was also known as the most controversial figure in the history, causing headaches for his fellow sect members at that time, and the younger generation did not know how to comment on him. Yun Yuanjin smiles faintly, counting along the way. Of the four most outstanding disciples under the Xian Gate's leader, Xiao Yan still needs to be observed. The one that can be confirmed is actually only junior sister Meng's son Zhu Yi can be nurtured and has hopes of becoming a pillar of the divine continent in the future. Dao Master Qing Yi said lightly, if Tiangang took action that day, I only plan to protect Xiao Yan and Zhu Yi. Slowly, Dao Master Xian Yi thought for a moment and said, these four people reached the primordial soul realm on the same day. Although it may be because of the pressure caused by the annihilating Xian coalition army, it is too much of a coincidence. I'm not sure about the others, but I watched the video of the Battle of Yujing Mountain that day. Before Shi Tianhao reached the primordial soul realm, he seemed to have taken some kind of elixir. Hearing this, everyone looked at Dao Master Qing Ning. Dao Master Qing Ning's eyes were dim and uncertain. He slowly nodded and said, I have also taken note of what Martial Uncle Xianyi said, but I haven't figured it out. It should not be an elixir that can directly promote a late-stage Yuanying cultivator to the primordial soul realm. That is completely against the way of heaven and is not tolerated by the entire vast thousand world. But it is likely to be an elixir that can help to break through bottlenecks or increase the success rate. Everyone nodded together. Even so, such an effect can be called a divine elixir or an immortal elixir. Tao Master Qing Ning said, this elixir recipe needs to be negotiated with the master of the celestial sect. If it is really an elixir with such an effect, with sufficient raw materials, it can have an earth-shaking effect. Kai Fengzhou smiled bitterly. I'm afraid I don't have a relationship with Xianmen Tianzong now. It's not up to him. Even senior brother Tai Yi will not ignore this matter. Tao Master Qing Yi said calmly, I am more concerned about another thing, and it is about the real cultivation of the master of the celestial sect. When the others heard this, their faces showed contemplation. Chapter 900. After Tao Master Qing Yi finished speaking, Tao Master Xian Yi, Kai Fengzhou, Tao Master Qing Ning, Yun Yuanjun, and Tao Master Yu Yuan all fell into deep thought. After a while, Yun Yuanjun looked at Lin Daohan and asked, Daohan, I heard from Mingyue that you've tried to figure out the true cultivation of the master of the celestial sect? Lin Daohan nodded and said, looking back, it seems that I was a little rash. Slowly, Yun Yuanjun shook her head and said, it may not be that you were rash. Looking back, the rise of the master of the celestial sect was not only made by Xianmen Tianzong, but also by the personal cultivation of the master of the celestial sect. There should be a problem with the doppelganger and the original body. Otherwise, the path to the top would be too steep and abrupt. But there should be a node in this. This node. I think it's either the sword trials of Tianzhi Peak or the Battle of West Hill City. After this node, what appeared in front of the world? It should be the true body of the celestial sect of Wonders sect master. Yun Yuanjun said while thinking, the latter is more likely. But according to my observations over the years, the master of the celestial sect has been stronger than when he fought with senior brother Kuang, senior brother Xian Lin, and Xian Longsheng in West Hill City. In particular, the Battle of Mount Shu this time is obviously stronger than that in West Hill City. We can't rule out the possibility that the master of the celestial sect still held back his strength in West Hill City. But I think it's more likely that he's stronger than he was in West Hill City. Tao Master Qing Yi and the others listened to Yun Yuanjun silently and did not interrupt. Yun Yuanjun took a deep breath and said, so, I think many of our previous estimates of the master of the celestial sect may be wrong. She looked at Tao Master Qing Yi and said, as Master said, I'm also very concerned about the master of the celestial sect's true cultivation. That's because I've observed his personal disciples. Putting aside those who have yet to attain the essence soul realm, Xiao Yan, Zhu Yi, Wang Lin, and Shi Tianhao can fight Dao integration experts at the essence soul embodiment realm. This is truly unbelievable. Yun Yuanjun shook his head and sighed in admiration. Dao Han said that he was ashamed of his inferiority when he was at the primordial spirit incarnation realm. I'm even more inferior. Kai Fengzhou and the others nodded in unison. They were also the same. They did not try to hide this point and admitted it frankly. It's a fact that Xiao Yan and the other three are all exceptionally talented, but I'm afraid it's not just because of their talent that they have the strength they have today. Yun Yuanjun's expression became calm. He said word by word, it should be because of his cultivation. Lin Daohan listened on the side. He could not help but recall the scene of his conversation with Yan Mingyue that day. In the battle outside the Sand Continent City that day, although Pang Jia was not his match at all, when junior brother Pang took out the magic treasure hexagonal sword, this person no longer fought personally. Instead, he used his array to wrap the hexagonal sword and junior brother Pang. Does this mean that his true cultivation is not enough to defeat junior brother Pang who holds the hexagonal sword? Or, at least, it's possible that his true cultivation is exposed. This person's cultivation is most likely at the essence soul embodiment realm, followed by the peak Yuanying realm. The possibility of him being at the Void Return realm is relatively small, and it's impossible for him to be at the Essence Soul Integration realm. Eldest senior brother, what if our inference is wrong and this person's cultivation is far higher than the Essence Soul Embodiment realm? Then I'll be very happy that Mount Shu Sword Sect has a strong opponent. What if his cultivation is far lower than the Essence Soul Embodiment realm? If his cultivation is far lower than the Essence Soul Embodiment realm, it means that the cultivation method he cultivates is above the Great Way of our Taishu Temple. The discussion of the past was still ringing in their ears. Although it was now basically confirmed that Lin Feng was only a doppelganger at that time, at this moment, the strength that Xiao Yan and the other three showed at the Middle Yuanying realm, the Late Yuanying realm, and the Essence Soul Embodiment realm, they could see the strength of the heirs of Xianmen Tianzong. Slowly, Dao Master Qingyi said, "So, I am very suspicious that this person's cultivation may not be at the Dharma ending realm, but his divine sense and Dharma power are so strong that he is very fierce in fights. He can defeat the Big Dipper, Great Saint Zhuyan, and Blue Sky Dragon King without showing his fruit of the way. He activated the Dharma ending tribulation in West Hill City. It's very likely that it was a trick, and he didn't complete the initial tribulation himself." Kai Fengzhou had a serious look in his eyes. "Then, what is his cultivation level?" Dao Master Qingyi and Yun Yuanjin shook their heads. "It's very confusing, and we still can't see it clearly. After all, no one knows if he has used his full strength. At least, we can be sure that when he went to Mount Shu that day, he only used his sword principle to defeat the Celestial Heaven faction. He definitely didn't use his full strength. Up until now, he has always been at ease and has never been in a desperate situation. So, his strength has never been bottomed out. It's like a deep pool that you think you've seen to the bottom, but in fact, it's very deep." Dao Master Yu Yuan said, "In West Hill City, Martial Uncle Zhengyi wanted to test his strength, but in the end, he didn't succeed. Looking back, that was probably the best opportunity. Unfortunately, there were changes in Tianhuang land at that time, and Martial Uncle Tai, Martial Uncle Xuani, and Martial Uncle Qingyi were all busy. The Temple Master and Junior Brother Wu were also tied up." Kai Fengzhou glanced at her. Junior Brother Wu couldn't fight in the Divine Land, at least not until he had no other choice. Moreover, by letting Junior Brother Wu fight in the West Hill City, are you trying to force Emperor Qin's Stonefeather and the Immortal Dragon City to personally take action? Dao Master Yu Yuan nodded. "I misspoke." Yun Yuanjin looked at Lin Daohan. "Daohan, do you remember that you buried a chess piece in Xianmen Tianzong? Now is the time to use it." Lin Daohan's eyes were calm. Silently, he looked at Yun Yuanjin and didn't say anything. Yun Yuanjin's expression was also calm as she looked at Lin Daohan. After a while, she said silently, "The Temple Master and Senior Brother Fu's thoughts are too dangerous." She didn't mention the Grand One Dao Master, but everyone present knew. Lin Daohan didn't say anything. Dao Master Qingyi looked at him. "Daohan, do you trust a person who you can't see through at all?" Slowly, Dao Master Qingning said, "We don't need the complete orthodox inheritance of the Master of Xianmen Tianzong. We just need a part of it. The Taoism of Xianmen Tianzong is so shocking that it might even surpass our own. It's probably similar to our Taoism, which is too profound and has a high requirement for aptitude. It's not possible for it to be popularized. As long as we can get a part of it, we can trace it back to its source and see through the details of the Master of Xianmen Tianzong." Dao Master Xian Yi and Kai Fengzhou were silent. Dao Master Yu Yuan said, "Even if we want to nip it in the bud, we should know ourselves and the enemy." Lin Daohan didn't look at Dao Master Qingning, Dao Master Yu Yuan, or Yun Yuanjin. Instead, he looked at Dao Master Qingyi. Dao Master Qingyi said calmly, "You don't have to make a decision in a hurry. After today, ask Senior Brother Tai Yi and the Temple Master, and then make a decision. No matter what decision you make, you don't have to tell us what the final result will be. You just need to bring the problem of Yu Yuan and me to Senior Brother Tai Yi and the Temple Master. Ask them if they can trust a person they don't know. If we want to nip it in the bud, should we know ourselves and the enemy? Lin Daohan shook his head and said, Martial uncle, you misunderstood. Although the Taoism of our temple has always been called the best in the Divine Land and the Tianyuan realm, we all know that our Taoism is still exploring the great way of heaven and earth. It's far from reaching the peak. If we can bring our Tao to the next level, whether it's me, Grandmaster, or Master, we are all happy. We don't have to plagiarize the direct Tao of the celestial sect of Xianmen, but we can learn from others. As long as it can inspire our Tao, it's good. But the purpose of all this is to make our temple stronger, so that we can better protect the Divine Land and fight against the demon clan. Lin Daohan looked calm and said, if we don't intensify the conflict between Xianmen Tianzong and our temple to the point that it can't be resolved, it won't cause the internal friction of the human clan's strength. I will naturally do it. It was for this reason that I buried the hidden pawn. But if this completely triggers a fierce battle between us and Xianmen Tianzong, and the demon clan will benefit for nothing, then I think this matter needs to be considered. If the harvest of Xianmen Tianzong's Taoism can make up for it, or even surpass the loss caused by the fierce battle with Xianmen Tianzong, then it's still worth doing. Dao Master Qingyi nodded and said, you can decide for yourself. Lin Daohan bowed slightly and said, yes, Martial uncle. At this time, Dao Master Qing Ning said, this matter can be planned slowly. Before that, the elixir recipe is more important, and it may have an immediate effect. Dao Master Yu Yuan shook his head and said, I'm more concerned about his sky-killing sword. This sword is extremely fierce and contains the power to destroy the world. It shouldn't be forged, otherwise I'm afraid it's like nurturing a tiger and inviting disaster. The master of the celestial sect is stubborn. In order to fight against the Haotian mirror, he not only sealed the sword, but also strengthened it further. At that time, I'm afraid he will be the first to be devoured by the sword. But if the sword goes out of control, the second threat will be the entire Divine Land. Dao Master Qing Ning said, I've already said it last time, and I still have the same idea. Create an opportunity for the master of the celestial sect to unseal the sword in advance, as long as it's used to deal with the demon clan. If he insists on not using the sword, we can take the opportunity to see where his limit is. Lin Daohan, Dao Master Xian Yi, and Kai Fengzhou all frowned slightly and said, I'm afraid this is not appropriate, right? Yun Yuanjin said with a smile, with this sword, the Haotian mirror can be restored to its full state and by precious time. Dao Master Xian Yi and Kai Fengzhou were silent. Lin Daohan's eyes flickered slightly and then calmed down again. He didn't say anything more. After a long time, Kai Fengzhou said, the master of the celestial sect is not stupid. In this way, he naturally knows that it will only deepen the conflict between us. As for other things like elixir recipes, don't even think about it. If we start to negotiate with him, it will only end up in an unmanageable situation. Dao Master Qingyi said silently, the master of the celestial sect is indeed not stupid, and he is a first-class smart person. That's why he has always been submissive before he matured. It's very simple to make him behave. We just need to keep our view that we are always stronger than him. If he wants to refine the sword, let him be. Let's see if the Haotian mirror can recover first, or if his heaven-punishing sword can reach a higher level first. Dao Master Qing Yi's light shadow stood up from the position of the cattail hassock and said, it's just that we underestimated him before, but it won't happen again. She looked at Lin Daohan and asked, what's the situation with the Underworld Hall and the King of the Underworld? Lin Daohan replied, the King of the Underworld intends to sit back and watch the conflict between us and Xianmen Tianzong while accumulating his strength. I'm afraid that he won't take any action in a short period of time. If we want to find him, we still have limited clues. Dao Master Qingyi nodded and said, his threat may not be as great as Xianmen Tianzong, but it's more obvious. While paying attention to Xianmen Tianzong, don't let down the King of the Underworld. Lin Daohan bowed and said, I understand. At this time, on the vast land of infinite wilderness, Lin Feng, who was walking slowly, finally stopped. He flicked his fingers and a few streams of magic power shot out. The golden alms bowl and cicada wings flew into the air and turned into golden light that kept dancing. Chapter 901. The trajectory of the golden light seemed to be chaotic, but it actually contained many principles. It outlined a huge and complicated pattern in the void. Lin Feng flicked his finger lightly, and a misty purple aura enveloped the huge pattern that was originally golden. The golden pattern kept flashing, and in the end, it was dyed with a layer of purple. Invisible light waves, with this pattern as the center, spread out in all directions in circles, spreading farther and farther, and gradually dissipating between heaven and earth. However, Lin Feng's divine sense also spread out, covering the sky and covering the earth, searching for golden cicada. Zhu Yan the great saint walked out of the void, stood still, and watched Lin Feng cast the spell. After a moment of careful perception, he thought to himself, the master of the celestial gate is indeed powerful, and I am inferior to him. If I get the golden alms cicada wings, although I can also try to find golden cicada, I'm afraid the efficiency will be much lower, and golden cicada will easily get rid of me. Lin Feng's divine sense spread out, and with himself as the center, it swept across the entire world. In the circle of invisible light waves, suddenly, a path appeared faintly, breaking through the void, winding forward in the layers of space, and constantly extending. This path was very strange, with many twists and turns, without any rules to speak of. In many places, it even kept going back. After extending to a place, it directly turned around and went back. Halfway through, it suddenly made a right-angle turn, and then in a short while, it made another right-angle turn. The two turns combined, it was equivalent to turning around again. This was only a small part of the long road. In fact, this winding road paved with purple light was showing this strange phenomenon almost all the time. This situation occurred because this path passed through layers of space, the result of constant changes. Both Lin Feng and Zhu Yan the great saint watched this scene calmly. They were not in a hurry to step onto the stairs, but patiently waited for the path to appear completely and extend to the end. During this process, Lin Feng's divine sense swept in all directions, and his heart suddenly moved slightly. Oh! Why is he here? It turned out that when Lin Feng's divine sense swept, he found that there was a battle taking place in the distance. One of the two combatants was a gigantic monkey with a jet-black body and a green face. As it breathed, wisps of sinister wind would blow through the air, resembling black strands of silk. Anything touched by the black, thread-like wind lost its vitality, as if it had been frozen from the inside by the frigid power from the inside out. Even though it didn't seem to have any changes on the outside, it was as if it had been frozen from the inside. One of the four great divine winds in the world, the ninth nether wind, was the coldest thing in the world, like the Xianming water of the six true water. Compared to the nether true water, which acted from the outside to the inside, the ninth Hellene wind was the exact opposite. It first acted from the soul of a living being and froze the soul before acting on the body. After being frozen by the Xianming true water, one would become an ice sculpture. After being frozen by the nine nether chilly wind, one's appearance would not change much, but one's soul would be completely frozen and lose its vitality, becoming like a clay puppet. Frozen by the Xianming water, the person would become an ice sculpture, and frozen by the netherworld wind, the appearance would not change much, but the spirit would be completely frozen and lose its vitality, becoming like a clay puppet. The netherworld wind originated from the netherworld sea of the seven seas of heaven origin, which was also known as the netherworld sea. It would not easily appear in the world, and even if the netherworld sea opened a crack, it would be a small amount. The netherworld wind raging in the netherworld sea was incomparably vigorous, incomparably violent, covering the sky and the earth, as if it wanted to freeze everything it touched. Together with the netherworld evil flame, the blood river true water, and the infinite evil spirit, it was a famous disaster in the great heaven origin world. Outside the netherworld sea, the great heaven origin world could control and refine the netherworld wind was the primordial demonic ape clan, one of which was called the netherworld ghost monkey. The green-faced black monkey that Lin Feng's divine sense had discovered was a netherworld ghost monkey king who had already formed a demon infant. As far as Lin Feng knew, the leader of the 9 Nether Ghost Monkey clan should also be a great saint-level demon clan, known as the 9 Nether Great Sage. However, because he did not often appear in the world, he was not very sure about his specific realm level. The 9 Nether Ghost Monkey was someone that Lin Feng had never interacted with before. Today was also the first time that he had personally seen one alive. However, the opponent of the 9 Nether Ghost Monkey was someone that Lin Feng was slightly familiar with. It was the Beyond Heaven Mountain disciple that he had met a few times before, Chu Yang. However, for some reason, he had also come to the infinite wilderness. Strictly speaking, the Spirit Abyss Mountain where the primordial demon ape clan resided was still a certain distance away from the realm passageway between the vast land of the Divine Land and Tianhuang mainland. As a human cultivator, Chu Yang was already extremely deep into Tianhuang mainland when he arrived at this location. He was not there to hunt demons. He had been cautious along the way, using the Northwest Nether Sword of the ancient heavenly sect's Major 9 Heavens Divine Sword to conceal his tracks, and tried his best to avoid conflict with the demons. The demons did not pay much attention to a late-stage golden elixir cultivator like him, and few demon kings and demon commanders could see his whereabouts. Hence, he had managed to find his way to the Spirit Abyss Mountain. It's a pity that the heavenly crystal is suppressed under the mountain. If I take it out, I will definitely alarm this demon monkey. Otherwise, I could have taken it and left without anyone knowing. Chu Yang calmly fought with the netherworld ghost monkey in front of him. He also wanted to enter the village quietly and not shoot, but for the sake of his goal, he had no choice but to alarm the other party. At this moment, facing the aggressive netherworld ghost monkey, a cold look flashed across Chu Yang's eyes. He had always been a ruthless person, but in order to hide his secrets, he often did not show his true abilities to prevent leaks. However, if he attacked, he would finish it in one go, using all his strength to kill the other party, leaving no survivors. This is the netherworld ghost monkey's territory. If I continue to waste time with him, I will only attract more demon monkeys. The cold and ruthless look in Chu Yang's eyes disappeared, leaving only focus. His sword stance suddenly changed, and an extremely sharp and dazzling sword light surged. It was like the sun rising from the east, emitting a blazing golden light. The majestic light was like a bright sun, immediately isolating the netherworld wind that was drifting in the air and blowing towards him. The scorching feeling made the demon monkey grimace. It's not the true solar fire, but the sword intent is the same as the solar fire. You actually used the sword Dao to manifest the Golden Crow race's special technique, the solar fire technique. What sword Dao is this? The ancient heavenly gates had been destroyed for too long. Even in the Divine Land's human cultivation world, there were very few people who recognized Chu Yang's Southeastern Yang heavenly sword. If it was a great demon that had lived through the ancient age, they might be able to recognize the foundation of Chu Yang's sword. However, this demon monkey had only lived for 1,000 years, so it was naturally impossible for him to recognize it. Chu Yang raised his sword high above his head, like the sun hanging high in the sky, illuminating the bright world. The faint golden sword light became restrained and gentle again. However, the demon monkey did not dare to underestimate this morning sun, that seemed soft but not weak, bright but not fierce. Chu Yang's sword just now, with his golden elixir period cultivation, had broken through the netherworld wind that he, as a demon king, had activated. Chu Yang and the netherworld ghost monkey naturally did not realize that all their actions were seen by Lin Feng. Looking at Chu Yang, Lin Feng smiled slightly. Not bad, not bad. It's not just bits and pieces, but the most orthodox Heavenly Gates Major 9 Heavens Divine Sword Legacy. Compared to Eastern Heavenly Gates' incomplete Heavenly Gates, Chu Yang's Major 9 Heavens Divine Sword was much more complete. However, from the looks of it, he had only obtained the Major 9 Heavens Divine Sword and did not have the Heavenly Gates' other paths, techniques. However, Lin Feng frowned slightly, feeling that something was wrong. Chu Yang could not discover it, but he could not hide it from his eyes. On the Netherworld Peak, the ancestral land of the Netherworld Ghost Monkey race, there was clearly a Netherworld Ghost Monkey at the Unity Astral Soul level. He was expressionless, staring down at Chu Yang from above. To have such a cultivation level, there was no doubt that it could only be the leader of the Netherworld Ghost Monkey race, the Netherworld Great Sage. The Netherworld Great Sage glanced coldly at Chu Yang and did not pay much attention to him. There were already other clansmen rushing over. He retracted his gaze and looked at the void again, in the direction where Lin Feng was. Lin Feng seemed to be looking at him across space, but the Netherworld Great Sage's gaze was clearly a little vague. He could not see Lin Feng's actions, nor could he sense what Lin Feng was doing. He only seemed to know that there was someone in that direction that he needed to be on guard against. Nether Great Sage was only quietly on guard, not daring to use his gaze to pierce through the void and truly look at the area where Lin Feng was. That would immediately attract Lin Feng's attention and vigilance, which was equivalent to taking the initiative to provoke Lin Feng. When Lin Feng scanned with his divine sense just now, he would also instantly notice it. And now, if Lin Feng had not paid special attention to Chu Yang and the Netherworld Ghost Monkey race, he might not have noticed the abnormality of the Netherworld Great Sage. Although he might not be on guard against me, this is too much of a coincidence. Lin Feng thought, if he is indeed on guard against me, why? Just because I'm a human. If he is on guard like this, he might as well openly sweep his divine sense over. After all, this is the ancestral land of the primordial demon ape race. Being so low-key will only make it more conspicuous. Thinking of this, Lin Feng's gaze narrowed slightly as he looked at the path of purple light that was still extending in front of him. The speed at which the path extended was surprisingly slowing down, as if it was about to reach the end. Seeing that the path continued to extend, Lin Feng spread his sleeves and let Shi Tianhao, Wang Lin, and the others out. He said, "Go south. It is the territory of the Netherworld Ghost Monkey race. You can go there and have a look." He then looked at Luo Qinggu and said with a smile, "You can observe that Chu Yang's swordsmanship. It will help you figure out the last sword move of the innate six directions sword way." Luo Qinggu looked at Lin Feng in surprise and said, "Master, are you referring to the swordsmanship of Beyond Heaven Mountain?" The innate six directions sword way was a swordsmanship that she had created after comprehending her family's Tao technique, the 8 trigrams of the Great Way. Following Lin Feng's guidance, it was completely different from the swordsmanship that existed in the Divine Land. This swordsmanship was quite unique. Its sword intent was closely related to Luo Qingwu's purine body and her understanding of swordsmanship. As her cultivation level increased, it could truly become more perfect. Therefore, even though she had already cultivated the 4 symbols heaven-opening scripture and had even comprehended another divine ability, the innate 6 directions sword way still had the last 6th sword move to be completely perfected. Compared to the difficulty of comprehending and cultivating it, the power of this swordsmanship was equally astonishing. Hearing Luo Qingwu's question, Lin Feng smiled and said, "Of course not." Luo Qingwu blinked and said respectfully, "Disciple understands." Chapter 902. Facing the Hades Ghost Monkey King, Chu Yang's southeastern Yang Sky Sword seemed to transform into a real sun as he silently confronted the Hades Ghost Monkey King. The Hades Ghost Monkey King's eyes narrowed and flashed with an ominous glint. He suddenly extended his claws and scratched at the void. His figure instantly disappeared, appearing in front of Chu Yang in a single step. And with that scratch, the space around Chu Yang also violently distorted. The sun-like sword light around him twisted and tore apart. The southeastern Yang Sky Sword was both offensive and defensive. The sword light could be released to attack the enemy, but when it was withdrawn, it was like he was in the sun. There were no gaps in all directions, protecting him in the center. The Hades Ghost Monkey King had the ability to comprehend the mysteries of space as a demon king and a human Yuanying stage cultivator. Even if he could break through the void and launch a surprise attack, he still had to face Chu Yang's sword light defense. He was like a curled-up hedgehog. But this demon monkey king's scratch had also broken through the void where Chu Yang was. It was taking drastic measures to break through Chu Yang's sword Tao. It was clearly using the demon king realm to forcefully defeat Chu Yang, who was in the golden elixir period. Seeing this, Chu Yang smiled slightly. His sword momentum suddenly changed. The blazing light that filled the sky disappeared, leaving only a dim but not weak shadow that flickered in and out of sight. The Hades Ghost Monkey King's narrowed eyes suddenly widened. Because in his divine sense, Chu Yang seemed to have suddenly disappeared, without a trace. The next moment, the dim shadow had already fled, brushing past the Hades Ghost Monkey King and instantly escaping the monkey's attack range. After flying a little further away, the dim shadow once again revealed Chu Yang's appearance. His expression was calm as usual. His southeastern Yang Sky Sword had suddenly turned into the northwestern Nether Sky Sword. His body turned into a shadow and hid in the void. Even the Demon King realm Hades Ghost Monkey King's spatial seal could not trap him. Seeing the Hades Ghost Monkey King turn around and prepare to pounce on him again, Chu Yang suddenly smiled. The sword in his hand had already returned to its sheath, and he turned to leave. The Hades Ghost Monkey King was stunned, then enraged. But just as he was about to continue chasing, he suddenly felt a slight pain in the top of his head. Then, his entire body began to tremble. On his forehead, a thin strand of dark green light shot out, originating from a hole the size of a needle's eye. However, this hole seemed to have caused the Ghost Monkey King's life force to completely leak out. He only felt that his life was rapidly flowing away. The Ghost Monkey King's body faintly trembled. Looking inside his body, he discovered that it wasn't just his body that was damaged. There was also a small hole on the top of his divine soul. There was also a small hole on the top of the demon nascent soul's head, and its essence kept leaking out. The Netherworld Ghost Monkey King felt that his consciousness was quickly disappearing. How could this be, when a late-stage golden elixir cultivator killing a demon king wasn't something that had never happened before, but it was extremely rare. This Ghost Monkey King really didn't expect to face such a scene today. At the last moment of his life, the Ghost Monkey King of the Netherworld was enlightened. Yes, it was the moment when he and I passed by each other. With this thought, the Ghost Monkey King's body softened and fell heavily to the ground. This scene clearly fell in the eyes of Wang Lin, Shi Tianhao, and the others who had already arrived at the surroundings and were secretly watching the battle. The Ghost Monkey King didn't think clearly until the last moment of his life. Wang Lin and Shi Tianhao, who had already reached the nascent divinity realm, naturally saw through it at a glance. Shi Tianhao slightly tilted his head. Third senior brother, do they look alike? Wang Lin calmly replied, Heavenly Blue Light Needle, Jade Dragon Flame of the Jade Dragon Clan. Behind him, Yang Qing, Li Yuanfang, and Luo Qinggu nodded together. The concept is very similar, but it has already been integrated into the sword Dao, forming a style of its own. Luo Qinggu witnessed the whole process of Chu Yang using the Northwest Heavenly Sword and the West Heavenly Sword to counterattack and kill the Ghost Monkey King. She pondered and said, so that's how it is. No wonder Master said that by observing his sword Dao, Xiaowu can comprehend her own innate six directions sword Dao by analogy. But it's only the innate six directions sword Dao. Later on, everyone has a different path. While she was thinking, Shi Tianhao asked, Little junior sister, what do you think of this person's sword Dao? Luo Qinggu giggled. Little senior brother, don't tease Xiaowu. Although Xiaowu concentrates on practicing the sword, her cultivation is too far behind you and third senior brother. If we really talk about sword Dao, little senior brother, you're better than Xiaowu. Shi Tianhao shook his head. My sword Dao has my own understanding, but it actually leans towards Master's heaven-punishing sword Qi. You're different. You're completely independent. Even Master will only give you some pointers on the basis of your own understanding. He won't put any extra influence on you. You practice the innate six directions sword Dao and the great four-elephant immortal killing sword. Although you refer to other sword Dao, the sword intent is your own concept that is independent of all the swords in the world. What you refer to is the technique, not the Dao. Luo Qinggu stopped smiling and didn't rush to answer. Instead, she thought carefully for a while before answering, he has already obtained the true inheritance of that sword Dao. But from what he has shown so far, he's still at the beginning stage. As expected, he hid his true skills during the Kunlun Mountain Spell Conference. This sword Tao inheritance is the great nine heavens godly sword of Elysium. This is something that we all know. It's the same as the sword Tao of Elysium's elder heavenly spirit elder that was refined by the life and death nether Tao fruit of the king of the underworld. Luo Qinggu said, only when you practice the great nine heavens godly sword to the level of elder heavenly spirit can you be considered to have reached the next level. But if you want to reach the peak, there's still a long way to go. However, even if it's just the beginning stage, it's already very powerful. Wang Lin said silently, the great heavenly Tao and the great heavenly wheel are the foundation of the Elysium. And the great nine heavens godly sword is the great Tao of divine powers that the Elysium created to improve. Even if it doesn't surpass the great heavenly Tao and the great heavenly wheel, it's at least unique. It's a different path that runs parallel with the great heavenly Tao, and broadens the path of the ancient Elysium. If this sword Tao continues to develop, it might be able to feed back the great heavenly Tao, allowing the great heavenly Tao to improve as well. The people of the Elysium may have had such thoughts when they created this sword. Shi Tianhao smiled and said, it's also because the ancient Elysium died young. Otherwise, if their nine heavens godly sword really appeared, they might have used their sword to send the Shushan immortal heavenly sword to destruction. Li Yuanfang said calmly, if his secret is exposed, he will be targeted by the great Zhou dynasty. Yang Qing said, after all, he is old friends with our sect. We will naturally keep his secret. If the great Zhou dynasty makes things difficult for him, we will protect him. Li Yuanfang and Luo Qinggu nodded in unison. That's how it should be. Their doppelgangers, which were completely identical to their real bodies, were obtained because of Chu Yang. About a year ago in the boundless world, Chu Yang had coincidentally obtained a treasure called the Seal Spirit Stone when he was traveling. It could help cultivators below the Yuanying stage to create a doppelganger that was completely identical to their real bodies. Mystiques and spiritual power could be perfectly replicated. The waves of spiritual sense, spiritual power aura, and appearance were all completely identical. It could also be cultivated and promoted along with the real body. However, the cultivation of the doppelganger would always be one level lower than the real body. At the same time, this doppelganger could not attain primordial spirit Tao. Even so, it was quite effective when used properly. Chu Yang obtained a total of 9 of these seal spirit stones. He used one for himself and used it to fool Li Bai Tao during the incident at Beyond Heaven Mountain. As for the remaining 8, he gave half to Wu Yunliang. Wu Yunliang kept it a secret and did not rush to give it to the outstanding disciples of the sect during the Golden Elixir period. He only distributed it after the Battle of Shushan. As for the other half, Chu Yang gave it to Xianmen Tianzong. Of course, his plan was to give it to Luo Qinggu. Later, because of the appearance of Mount Yujing, Xiao Yan and the others on the mountain, out of consideration for war preparations, Luo Qinggu and Li Yuanfang each used one. They were not directly participating in the battle. Instead, they each used the Yin-Yang Sea and the Yin-Yang Life and Death formation to deal with the enemy. The 2 doppelgangers with lower cultivation levels could also play a supporting role from the side. Together with Zhu Yi's Dragon Ascension technique, they played a significant role. Dao Yuding also received one, but she was not in a hurry to use it. She was Yang Qing's backup. Since Yang Qing had returned to the mountain, she naturally did not need to take risks. Originally, there was another one prepared for Yang Qing. However, when Yang Qing returned to the mountain, she was already in the Yuanying stage. Naturally, there was no need for her to take risks. Therefore, Xianmen Tianzong still had 2 seal spirit stones left. They would be used as rewards for meritorious junior disciples in the future. Shi Tianhao smiled and said, let's protect him for now. He looked at Chu Yang and saw that there was already an extremely powerful aura pouncing over from the territory of the Hades ghost monkeys. In an instant, it was near Chu Yang. Before Chu Yang came, he had obviously done a general understanding of the surrounding environment. He had also chosen the route of retreat very carefully. He took what he wanted. After killing the Hades ghost monkey king, he ran toward the territory of the Zhuyan demonic apes. Among the primordial demonic apes, the Hades ghost monkeys and the Zhuyan demonic apes had always been at odds. It could be said that among the many branches of the ape race, they had the worst relationship with each other. If it were any other time, the Hades ghost monkeys in the Demon King realm would most likely chase after him. He might really be able to take advantage of the chaos and escape. However, Chu Yang's luck was not very good. Today was obviously a little special. The Hades Great Sage, who occupied the Hades Peak, was not a threat. In fact, when he first glanced at Chu Yang, the Hades Great Sage had a vague feeling that something was wrong. Then, he focused all his attention on Lin Feng and did not care about the fight between his clansmen. However, other than the Hades Great Sage, the Hades Ghost Monkeys and other great demons who had attained indestructible demonic souls were also waiting for him. With their cultivation, no matter how strange Chu Yang's heavenly crushing sword was, it was impossible for him to kill their clansmen under their noses. However, Wang Lin had secretly shielded Chu Yang. It was only after the Hades Ghost Monkey King died that the few great demons reacted. A Hades Ghost Monkey that had attained indestructible demonic soul immediately left the Hades Peak and chased after Chu Yang, who had dared to kill his clansmen. This Hades Ghost Monkey, who was known as the Great Sage, was originally guarding the distance with his clan leader. When he suddenly realized that his clansmen had not been able to take down a young cultivator of the Golden Elixir period and had been killed instead, he was instantly enraged. Although Chu Yang's Northwest Serene Heaven sword was profound, the gap between their realms was too great. Very soon, the Great Sage caught up to him. Chapter 903. The demonic aura, which felt like the sky was pressing down on him, almost paralyzed Chu Yang. He Lin Great Sage didn't even need to spit out the 9 Serenities' chilly wind. His demonic aura alone was enough to make Chu Yang feel like his spirit was frozen. This feeling, a great demon with an indestructible demonic soul. Chu Yang's heart immediately sank. In the depths of his spirit, a blurry shadow shook. Looking closely, it seemed to be a long sword. However, half of it seemed to be real, while the other half was light and shadow. It didn't really take a physical form, but floated in Chu Yang's spirit. About 4/9 of this sword's shadow looked real, while 5/9 were light and shadow. It's a pity that I don't have time to smelt the celestial crystal into it. Otherwise, there would be more hope. Chu Yang knew that the gap between him and the enemy was too big. He might not be able to escape even if he used all his skills. However, he still kept his cool and tried to fight for his last chance. However, he also felt a little strange. The place where he took the celestial crystal and killed the Ghost Monkey King was clearly very far from the 9 Serenities Peak. Could it be that his luck was so bad that he just happened to run into a 9 Serenities Ghost Monkey with an indestructible demonic soul paying attention to what was happening here? Even so, if his immediate family hadn't been killed, a great saint level 9 Serenities Ghost Monkey wouldn't have condescended to personally chase after him. It would have been normal for him to send a few stronger Ghost Monkey Kings. Was his luck really that bad? While thinking gloomily, Chu Yang prepared for his last fight. He didn't expect to injure the enemy. Instead, he used all his strength on the Northwest Nether Heaven sword in order to escape quickly. Chu Yang didn't even have time to pay attention to his back. He didn't even divert his divine sense to sweep behind him, let alone turn around to look. It would only be a waste of time and make his chances of escaping even smaller. At this moment, there was an extremely huge black ape behind him. It had a green face and fangs, and it was breathing cold air from its bloody mouth. It was very close to Chu Yang. At this moment, the void between heaven and earth suddenly shook. A figure had already stepped out from it and looked at Chu Yang and the He Lin Great Sage with a smile. It was a purple-clothed young man with a golden beast fur coat on the outside. His figure was extremely tall and straight, and he looked extremely handsome. His smooth jet-black hair hung loosely behind him. As soon as he appeared in front of the He Lin Great Sage. The He Lin Great Sage's vision blurred. The young man in purple stretched out his hand and grabbed him. The majestic dark Great Sage's movements didn't seem fast, but he just couldn't dodge. His huge body that was thousands of feet tall was directly grabbed by the young man's hand. The young man opened his palm and the space around him was folded. It wasn't that the majestic dark great sage's body had shrunk. Rather, the space around him had been compressed. Hei Lin Great Sage was shocked at first, then he became furious, and violent energy surged around him. He, the ghost monkey of the Nine Nether, was not known for his physical strength among the many branches of the primordial demonic ape clan, but that was only relative to the other ape clans. In fact, compared to the other demon clans, the ghost monkey of the Nine Nether was not weak. However, he couldn't move at all after being grabbed by the young man. The young man increased his strength and squeezed gently. The Hei Lin Li Great Sage felt as if all the bones in his body were about to be crushed. What kind of demon is this guy in human form? Does the human race have such a strong body? The Hei Lin Li Great Sage was shocked and angry. He looked up to the sky and let out a long howl. A large amount of netherworld wind gushed out and filled the sky, shrouding the young man. At the same time as the Tao Lord Great Sage let out a long hiss, his eyes shone with a strange brilliance, as if condensing into a strange shadow of a monkey that was roaring at the sky in the void. The Tao Lord Great Sage's body, on the other hand, showed a bit of dullness and dullness. This was his trump card. It was an innate magic that could only be obtained after the Hei Great King reached the undying demon soul realm. The Hei Lin Li Great Sage's soul-shattering roar. The roar was directly aimed at the opponent's divine soul. Combined with the netherworld wind, its power was multiplied. It was a powerful divine soul technique. With one roar, the primordial soul realm or undying demon soul realm of humans and demons within a radius of thousands of miles would have their divine souls shattered, except for a few exceptions. Even human cultivators who had cultivated the primordial soul or great demons who had cultivated the undying demon soul might have their primordial soul and demon soul shattered when facing this technique. They would be seriously injured. This technique was launched from the divine soul and also affected the divine soul. No matter how strong the body's magic power was, the defensive effect it could play was limited. The divine soul technique was restrained by the powerful yang qi and could be easily broken. However, at the level of the Hei Lin Li Great Sage, the activation of his race's innate magic power was no longer something that could be broken by the simple yang qi and blood. Even if he was broken, he could still pose a threat to the enemy's divine soul. At least, it would be a situation where both sides would suffer. The Hei Lin Li Great Sage's long howl was not only aimed at the purple-robed young man in front of him but also intended to kill Chu Yang. Unexpectedly, the purple-robed young man in a golden beast coat chuckled. Suddenly, countless purple lightning flashed in the palm that grabbed the Hei Lin Li Great Sage, and terrifying purple-green lightning snakes jumped continuously. He suddenly added some strength to his palm. Immediately, the sound of bones cracking could be heard incessantly. The Hei Lin Li Great Sage's entire body was twisted. The violent lightning made the Hei Lin Li Great Sage cry out miserably, and he immediately stopped the netherworld soul-shattering roar. The long hiss, which had shaken the hearts of all the nascent divinity cultivators and made them shudder with fear, had just opened its mouth when it seemed to have been cut off by someone with a pair of scissors, leaving only a trace of a shrill sound echoing between heaven and earth. The strange monkey shadow that was roaring at the sky in the void was twisted by the dancing lightning and immediately shattered. Holding the dying Hei Lin Li Great Sage in his hand, the purple-robed young man turned to look at Chu Yang and said with a smile, "Why did you come to the infinite mainland? And you even went all the way here?" The young man in purple was naturally Shi Tianhao. Chu Yang looked at him and let out a sigh of relief. However, a strange feeling suddenly rose in his heart, as if he had lost something. This feeling came without any reason, and even Chu Yang himself didn't know what was going on, and he couldn't figure it out. Shaking his head to get rid of the stray thoughts, Chu Yang cupped his fists and bowed to Shi Tianhao. "Thank you, Elder Shi. I will never forget this." After Xiao Yan and Shi Tianhao proved their essence Soul Dao and displayed their powerful strength in a great battle on Yujing Mountain, the entire divine land was once again shocked. The title of the 4 heroes of the celestial sect also spread like wildfire and gained more and more people's respect. However, the four of them had never intended to give themselves honorific titles, and there was no news of their Taoist titles in Xianmen Tianzong. Therefore, the outside world had a variety of titles for them, but they gradually became unified in the end. This kind of thing was actually common. For example, the Xianlin Taoist of Taishu Temple was actually a title given to him by the outside world, and not his own Taoist title in Taishu Temple. Among them, Shao Yan and Wang Lin's honorific titles were still controversial, while Shi Tianhao and Zhu Yi's were widely known, and there was basically a consensus. As early as when he was still in the gold core stage, he had attracted the attention of hundreds of sages. Zhu Yi already had the title of a half-sage. After he proved his primordial spirit, the golden bridge of the Nirvana realm was with him. The title of Yi officially spread throughout China and was recognized by the world. As for Shi Tianhao, because of his cave abode in the Desolate Sky Valley and the title of Desolate Sky Marquis in the Great Qin dynasty, he obtained the title of Heavenly Venerable Huang after he proved his essence Soul Tao. Other than the Great Qin dynasty and the Great Zhou dynasty, there were a few people who called him Heavenly Emperor Huang or Emperor Huang. However, it only spread for a while and soon died down. However, many people thought that the current Shi Tianhao was only in the essence soul incarnation realm. With the strength and potential he had shown, it was only a matter of time before he would be called Heavenly Emperor Huang in the future. Just like the Celestial Emperor and the Thunder Emperor in the ancient times, that was still the era of the human emperor. As for the way the outside world called him, Shi Tianhao had always been non-committal. He did not express approval or objection. Therefore, although the outside world called him Heavenly Venerable Huang, many people in front of him, because they did not understand what he meant, they still called him Tao Venerable Shi or Elder Shi. Of course, there were also many cultivators below the essence soul realm who called him Senior Shi. Yes, Senior Shi, who was now 30 years old. Among those who called him that, there were many old Yuanying cultivators who were thousands of years old. The heavens beyond mountain that Chu Yang came from was now completely dependent on Xianmen Tianzong. Therefore, the people of the heavens beyond mountain often called Shi Tianhao Elder Shi, just like Xianmen Tianzong's family. I came to the territory of the Ghost Monkey clan to search for a treasure, and I was still at the outskirts of the territory. I never expected that I would alarm a ghost monkey at the indestructible demonic soul stage to pursue me. Chu Yang didn't conceal anything when facing Shi Tianhao, and he spoke frankly. Seeing that Shi Tianhao did not look like he was just passing by, it was very likely that he had seen him use the Nine Heavens divine sword. Therefore, Chu Yang said frankly, the ancient gate of heaven was destroyed in the hands of Jihuang Xinyuan, and some of the treasures of the gate of heaven became the spoils of war of the primordial demonic ape clan. I found some clues, so I came all the way here to try my luck. Shi Tianhao held the hellish great sage in his hand and looked in the direction of the Nine Nether Peak in the distant sky. He smiled and said, "Your luck is not very good." Hearing this, Chu Yang smiled bitterly. In the distant sky, there was already a huge light shadow. It was a ghost monkey of Nine Nether that was much stronger than the hellish great sage. Its eyes were like the ghost lanterns of the underworld, staring straight at Shi Tianhao. It was the hellish great sage. Since the hellish great sage of the immortal demon soul realm was captured, the hellish great sage could no longer sit still. However, he did not dare to act rashly, because he had already recognized Shi Tianhao. He secretly complained in his heart. He was originally guarding against Lin Feng, but in the end, Lin Feng's disciple still came in front of him. He was not afraid of Shi Tianhao, but fighting with Shi Tianhao would definitely attract Lin Feng. However, he was immediately shocked because he found that his disciple alone was not easy to deal with. Next to Shi Tianhao, a young man in purple slowly walked out. He looked calm and indifferent, and his temperament was very ordinary. The only thing that was more eye-catching was the white hair floating behind him. Wang Lin's eyes were calm. Silently, he looked through the layers of void and looked at the Nine Nether Peak below the hellish great sage. He wondered what secrets were hidden here. Chapter 904. The abysmal great sage looked between Shi Tianhao and Wang Lin expressionlessly. Although he was a great demon at the astral soul unification realm, the two people in front of him did not give him the feeling that they were easy to deal with, even if they were just two cultivators at the primordial spirit embodiment realm. However, he was not afraid at all. The ninth serene peak was the ancestral land of the Netherworld Ghost Monkey clan. If the two people dared to attack, they would definitely not be able to bear the consequences. Moreover, the ninth serene peak was also where the Deep Spirit Mountain was located. If the matter was made too big, the entire primordial demonic ape clan would be alarmed. The only thing that made the abysmal great sage afraid was that it would attract the attention of Lin Feng, which would be bad. However, the awe-inspiring great sage was captured by Shi Tianhao, so he had to get his revenge first. Otherwise, he would not have the face to be the clan leader of the Netherworld Ghost Monkey clan. As he was thinking about this, the abysmal great sage suddenly noticed that Wang Lin's gaze was not actually on him, but was observing the ninth serene peak. This discovery made the abysmal great sage feel bad. Could it be that the master of the celestial sect has noticed it? As he was thinking, a thunderbolt suddenly fell from the sky and hit the top of the ninth serene peak. The thunderbolt was not of a single color, but was composed of 4 intertwined colors of red, yellow, green, and blue. It was quite mysterious. Each thunderbolt was like a thin thread of 4 colors intertwined together. Although the 4 colors together formed a thunderbolt, they were clearly distinguishable. On top of the 4-colored thunderbolt, there were 2 colors of black and white that flickered and struck the ninth serene peak with the momentum of splitting the sky. The abysmal great sage roared, and the chilly wind roared above the ninth serene peak. The gloomy clouds were gloomy, as if it had turned into a boundless ghost domain, the netherworld. The ninth serene chilly wind, which was like black rays of light, was densely intertwined and spiraled together, turning into a huge black ball of light that shrouded the ninth serene peak. Almost at the moment when the black ball of light was formed, the thunderbolt immediately fell and hit the top of the ball of light. The ball of light suddenly shook violently, and the black rays of light broke and disintegrated layer by layer. The abysmal great sage was stunned. What realm is this person in? Even the 9 heavens divine thunder of the thunder beast Anphra shouldn't be this powerful. Not daring to be the slightest bit negligent, Netherworld great sage revealed his true form and let out a long roar. His eyes were actually crying tears of blood. The blood transformed into a faint radiance and floated upwards, forming talisman patterns one after another. Then, all of them merged into the light ball that enveloped the Netherworld peak. The light ball lit up again, but the 4-colored thunderbolt flashing with black and white radiance seemed to have no end to its power. The 4 colors hovered, and the power kept transforming, bombarding abysmal great sage, who was struggling to support himself by relying on his own ancestral land. While abysmal sage was supporting himself, he suddenly felt a gaze falling on the abysmal peak below him, as if it had passed through layers of rocks and demonic power prohibition, and kept looking down and inside. He still has some strength left. Abysmal great sage's heart turned cold. Being scanned by him like this, I've definitely been discovered. That gaze swept over a certain place and suddenly paused for a moment. Then, it retracted, and the terrifying lightning also gradually dissipated. The sky was densely covered with thunderclouds, but even these thunderclouds disappeared very quickly, as if everything that had happened just now was just an illusion. But Shi Tianhao and Wang Lin's eyes flashed at the same time, and they rushed towards the Netherworld peak side by side. Abysmal great sage was expressionless. Although his heart was heavy, it was impossible for him to sit still and let Shi Tianhao and Wang Lin come and go as they pleased. Immediately, he stimulated his demonic power to meet the two of them. As a member of the Netherworld Ghost Monkey clan, when he revealed his true form, his power would also increase greatly. But this type of demonic clan did not rely on the majestic power of merging heaven and earth with their true form. Instead, they further used this power to strengthen their demonic soul. This had nothing to do with their usual cultivation, but was purely a means of fighting with external enemies. This made the Netherworld Ghost Monkey clan's demonic soul stronger than other demonic clans in battle. They could display many secret techniques to avoid the enemy's strong points and attack their weak points. They were unpredictable, making it impossible for their opponents to defend against them. At this moment, Abysmal Great Sage directly turned his demonic soul into a mass of black fog, which shrouded the netherworld peak. In the black fog, streams of netherworld wind circled back and forth, not blowing away the black fog, but complementing it. Wherever the black fog reached, it almost turned into a dead zone. Except for Abysmal Great Sage's clansmen, as long as the others were below the integration of star and soul, as long as they dared to step into the black fog, their demonic soul, primordial spirit, and divine soul would be immediately frozen, leaving only an empty shell. But soon, Abysmal Great Sage found that he had encountered a very difficult opponent. Wang Lin stepped on the void, moving forward step by step. His expression was calm and composed, as if he was on an outing. However, numerous streams of dim yellow and gloomy water surged out from his body, and they rose and fell as they transformed into a nether river that flowed ceaselessly, yet didn't make a single sound. As soon as the black fog and the chilly wind came into contact with the long river of the underworld, they suddenly fluctuated violently. The black fog was constantly being purified, and the chilly wind that was like a black ray was constantly breaking, as if it was a real black silk thread. And the netherworld true water, which purified all things and made all living beings avoid it, also met its match. All the dim yellow river water that was mixed with the broken black thread was rapidly frozen, as if it had been condensed into ice. The netherworld wind and the netherworld true water, these two fierce creatures, were constantly colliding, but the black fog and chilly wind could no longer block Wang Lin's way. Under Wang Lin's feet, there was a very ordinary-looking stone bridge, made of dark bluestone, covered with thick moss. Silently, it stood across the Wangchuan River, exuding an ancient and desolate aura, as if it had existed since ancient times. It was Wang Lin's Bridge of Helplessness. The surging netherworld true water poured into the Bridge of Helplessness, making the stone bridge seem to come alive, carrying Wang Lin through the chilly wind and black fog. Wang Lin walked calmly on the bridge, with a huge dark palace above his head, like a city. Streaks of netherworld wind fell like black light, and the black palace flashed, and layers of light isolated the netherworld wind. There was a calm look in Wang Lin's eyes, unlike when he fought with people before he formed the nascent soul, which was cold and resolute, but it made people feel even more terrified. The great sage of the Nine Nether was not afraid, but he had a headache, because he found that Wang Lin's magical power seemed to faintly restrain the innate magical power of his ghost monkey clan. In the case that the netherworld wind was offset by the netherworld true water, he actually couldn't do anything to Wang Lin. He tried to use the spirit technique to attack Wang Lin, but he hit a wall again. Facing the spirit technique, Wang Lin was even more relaxed than Shi Tianhao. In terms of cultivation level, the great sage of the Nine Nether, who had manifested his demon true form, was stronger than Wang Lin, who had just formed the essence soul. However, in terms of divine powers, all of them happened to be Wang Lin's strengths, and even faintly restrained. For a moment, even the great sage of the Nine Nether, who had been in Tianhuang mainland for many years, felt like a tiger trying to bite a hedgehog. The great sage of the Nine Nether roared angrily in the black fog, and suddenly, a few spots of light lit up in the black fog. It was the light of the stars, not formed by dermic powers, but real starlight. The great sage of the Nine Nether activated the stars that he had refined. This was purely to hurt people. Seeing this, Wang Lin's expression did not change at all. Silently, he said, "Feng Tianjun, please show yourself." A young man in black with a cold expression suddenly appeared beside Wang Lin, holding a large purple flag that was fluttering in the wind. The flag was flashing with light and shadow. It was the Dharma treasure primordial spirit of the mysterious sky god sealing flag, named Feng Tianjun. After being upgraded by Lin Feng, this treasure had reached the Mahayana level and could restrict the essence souls of Dao integration experts. However, if it was released, Dao integration experts could only release one essence soul at a time. After reaching the Mahayana level, Feng Tianjun could move freely and control his body, the mysterious sky god's sealing flag. However, he was rather indifferent and lazy, so he had no objections when Lin Feng ordered him to follow Wang Lin. Although Wang Lin was only at the essence soul embodiment realm, after witnessing Wang Lin's divine powers and dharmic powers, Feng Tianjun had no objections to following him. In particular, Wang Lin was more to his liking and would not disturb him most of the time, which made him very satisfied. After Feng Tianjun appeared, he glanced at the great sage of the Nine Nether. Without saying anything, he directly patted the flagpole of the mysterious sky god's sealing flag. Light and shadow flashed on the flag, and the essence soul of the hall master of the underworld hall, Su Anda, flew down. Su Anda glanced coldly at Wang Lin and Feng Tianjun. He was too lazy to talk nonsense. His hands changed hand seals and he had already turned the black mist that the great sage of the underworld hall had transformed into. Apart from not having a Dharma treasure with him, he had perfectly preserved all his cultivation realm, divine powers, and dharmic powers. He was a top figure among the Tao integration experts. Even if he was unarmed, Su Anda would not be at a disadvantage against the great sage of the Nine Nether, who had revealed his true form. The great sage of the Nine Nether couldn't be distracted and could only watch helplessly as Wang Lin stepped on the bridge of helplessness and walked toward the ninth nether peak in the depths of the black mist. A series of anxious roars came from the black mist. The protective restriction of the ancestral land of the ninth nether peak was activated again, blocking Wang Lin outside. However, Shi Tianhao had also stepped on the bridge of helplessness at this time. He arrived outside the ninth nether peak with a smile and attacked the restriction of the ninth nether peak with Wang Lin. The great sage of the nine nether peak was a little angry. That greedy pig, why hasn't he come back yet? As he was thinking about this, Shi Tianhao and Wang Lin's movements paused at the same time. They expanded their divine senses and immediately felt an extremely huge aura rushing over from afar. Its target was the two of them. Looking back, they saw the distant sky suddenly split open, and a huge monster rushed out of the void. It roared and rushed toward the ninth nether peak, charging toward Shi Tianhao and Wang Lin. This guy was even bigger than the entire ninth nether peak. He had a ferocious face and two huge fangs protruded out of his mouth. His whole body was purple, covered with blue patterns and burning with raging flames. He kept letting out low roars that sounded like muffled thunder. The ferocious bluish-purple demonic fire was the most overbearing of the seven great true fires, the nether evil flame. But looking at it, it was clearly a pig. Shi Tianhao and Wang Lin didn't laugh. Instead, they were slightly stunned. The fire beast Feng Kong. Hasn't this demon gone extinct since the Middle Ages? This huge beast that looked like a wild boar but was so huge that it could trample heaven and earth, burning with the nether evil flame. It was a great demon of the Feng Kong clan that had run amok in the Primitive Age, the Ancient Age, and the Middle Age. Chapter 905. The dark evil flame was one of the seven great true fires in the world. It was said that the dark evil flame true fire came from the netherworld purgatory and was extremely domineering. Like the netherworld wind and the netherworld true water, the source of this fire was also the netherworld sea. In the netherworld sea, apart from the netherworld wind that seemed to freeze the world and the netherworld true water that could purify all things, there was also this violent purple-blue flame that seemed to burn everything. In terms of pure destructive power, the dark evil flame was above the netherworld wind and the netherworld true water. As the king of all fires in terms of pure destructive power, the other six great true fires had to retreat before it. Since ancient times, in the history of the great heaven primordial world, only the Feng Kong clan had been able to refine and control this fire. Feng Kong was also known as the fire beast. Like the thunder beast Ong Pa and the dark beast Ming Du, they were all demons that had developed one type of power to the extreme. Excluding the Phoenix clan that had been living in seclusion since the primordial age, the active Feng Kong was known as the King of Fire, even more so than the Golden Crow clan. However, this demon race gradually became extinct in the Middle Era and never appeared again. Even the great heaven primordial world and the vast land of infinite wasteland had tacitly agreed that this demon race was extinct. After Feng Kai went extinct, the nether evil flame also disappeared along with it. There were no longer any humans or demons who cultivated and controlled this demonic fire in the world. Only until Xiao Yan appeared out of nowhere did this true fire with shocking destructive power once again appear in front of the world. The Feng Kong in front of them moved its 4 hooves, and in the blink of an eye, it had already rushed behind Shi Tianhao and Wang Lin. Under the impact of the violent power, the void around the 9 Serenities peak was shattered. Even the black fog that the 9 Serenities great sage had turned into kept surging and retreating. From the moment this glutton appeared, it revealed its true form. It was extremely ferocious, and even Su Anda frowned slightly when he saw it. Like Joyo Great Sage, this demon was at the unity of the stars and souls level, but its divine powers and dharmic powers were stronger. After showing its true form, even Su Anda, the master of the underworld hall, would have a headache fighting it empty-handed. Wang Lin and Shi Tianhao looked at each other. It's about the same as Zhou just now, but it might be a little stronger in terms of pure destructive power. Up till now, I'm afraid that only the Golden Rock Great Sage of the Cloud Forest world back then can defeat the Astral Soul Fusion Realm Great Demon that I've personally seen. Tisk, Golden Cicada has gathered a lot of subordinates. Shi Tianhao shook his head. Third senior brother, continue attacking the mountain. Leave this pig to me. As he spoke, the stone sword was already in his hand. When Shi Tianhao opened and closed his eyes, a bright light flashed. He was actually quite excited. After all, I can't fight to the death with eldest senior brother. It's really rare to meet an opponent who can also use the nether evil flame. His aura skyrocketed as he took one step after another. While he was much smaller than Feng Kong, his raging aura seemed to be on par with that of a small primordial fierce beast. The man and the beast collided, and the world seemed to tremble. The shockwaves that spread out from the center of the collision made Wang Lin, Su Anda, and Abysmal Great Sage all have to be careful. Feng Kong, who was charging at them with an aura that seemed to be able to crush everything in the world, came to an abrupt halt. He stopped where he was and even took a few steps back. There was a deep sword wound on his forehead that was dripping with blood. Feng Kong seemed to be unable to react. After a while, he flew into a rage, and his eyes glowed red. Shi Tianhao was sent flying, and the stone sword was knocked out of his hand. However, Shi Tianhao still managed to dissipate most of the force, and he regained his footing. With a wave of his hand, the stone sword was back in his control. He stared at Feng Kong in front of him with great interest. Its attack and defense are both stronger than Zhou, and the power of the nether evil flame is also stronger than Zhou's in water and in fire. However, it seems that its recovery ability is not as strong as Zhou's. Its skin is thicker, and it's not easy for it to recover after being injured. Feng Kong glared at Shi Tianhao, and his raging aura seemed to be able to destroy the world. Blue and purple demonic flames rose all over his body, making him look extremely frightening. It was especially so when specks of starlight appeared in the nether evil flame, which was already terrifying to begin with. He revealed his true form the moment they met because he had always done so. In truth, he did not expect Shi Tianhao to be so strong before he actually made his move, so he did not go all out. But at that moment, the Feng Kong was completely provoked by Shi Tianhao. Old pig is in a very bad mood. I'm going to fill my stomach with you. Feng Kong's blood-red eyes were filled with rage and coldness. One of the favorite foods of the Feng Kong clan was the red fire copper, one of the 6 great rare metals in the world. Feng Kong had been coveting the red fire copper mine at the foot of the small secondary mountain, the ancestral land of the Zhuyan demonic apes, for a long time. Every time he thought of it, he would drool. But because of his fear of Great Saint Zhuyan, he had to suppress the fire of hunger that seemed to be able to ignite in him. Usually, he would not have been able to wait outside the small secondary mountain, waiting for Great Saint Zhuyan to leave before finding an opportunity to enter the mountain. This time, he had finally managed to hide near the mountain, and Great Saint Zhuyan happened to be looking for Golden Cicada with Lin Feng. Feng Kong could not hold back anymore and sneaked to the mountain, ready to seize the opportunity to feast. But just as the mountain appeared in front of him, he received news that Joyo Peak was under attack, and he was forced to rush back. One could only imagine how frustrated and angry Feng Kong was. In the end, Not only did he not get to vent his anger, he even got another wound on his forehead, which made him even angrier. Unexpectedly, there was a scene that made him even angrier. He saw Shi Tianhao staring at him with a pair of bright eyes. "Pig demon, you look very appetizing." Great Saint Feng Kong was dumbfounded, and when he came to his senses, he became even more furious, roaring and rushing at Shi Tianhao. Shi Tianhao was not afraid at all, and he went up to him with great enthusiasm, looking even more enthusiastic than Great Saint Feng Kong. "Come on, come on, come on. It's been a long time since I've been so greedy. I can eat for a long time after I kill you." As Shi Tianhao and Feng Kong fought fiercely, Wang Lin did not stay idle either. He attacked Jiuyou Peak with all his strength. But after the restriction of the ancestral land of Jiuyou Peak was opened, Great Saint Jiuyou's strength was also enhanced, complementing the ancestral land, which made it difficult for Wang Lin and Su Anda to deal with. Wang Lin's expression did not change, and he thought, the strength of the demon race in their ancestral land is quite obvious, and this is just Jiuyou Peak. If it was a place like the main peak of the Spirit Abyss Mountain, the restriction would be even more powerful. While the Jiuyou Peak was quite noisy, there was not much reaction in other places of the Spirit Abyss Mountain. A faint wall of light, like a curtain, shrouded Jiuyou Peak. It carefully did not obstruct the normal flow of Spirit Abyss Mountain's spirit qi, so as to avoid attracting the attention of the main peak of the Spirit Abyss Mountain. But if it dragged on for too long, it would still be discovered. After all, the Spirit Abyss Mountain was the nest of the primordial demon apes. Even if the Great Sage and Great Saint Zhu Yan were not there, it was possible that other great demon apes would find out after a long time. In the void in the distance, Lin Feng stood with his hands behind his back, looking at the road that had completely taken shape in front of him with a smile, but he did not step on it. Great Saint Zhu Yan stood beside him, looking in the direction of Jiuyou Peak with a faint smile on his face. Min Zhao has lost his head in Jiuyou. His men colluded with Golden Cicada, and it can be said that they were bewitched. But as the leader of Jiuyou Peak, he colluded with Golden Cicada. Not to mention others, Tong Tian will be the first to settle accounts with him. It seems that Golden Cicada has promised to help him go through the tribulation. Hee, how can it be so easy to eat this meat? Lin Feng turned his head and looked at him. Why? Are you interested in going to Jiuyou Peak? Great Saint Zhu Yan grinned and said without concealment, normally, I would be happy to, but now it's more important to find Golden Cicada. Lin Feng smiled faintly and said, I'm going to Jiuyou Peak. Great Saint Zhu Yan looked at the road formed by the light in front of him and rolled his eyes. Do you mean that the road in front of us is actually leading to a trap, and that Jiuyou Peak is where Golden Cicada is hiding? Lin Feng said, Golden Cicada himself is not there, but that is his vital place. Great Saint Zhu Yan asked, did the master of the celestial sect already see this? Then why do you insist on letting this road take shape completely instead of rushing to Jiuyou Peak as soon as possible? Lin Feng pinched an incantation with his right hand and pointed at the light road. Then, he stepped in the void and walked in the direction of Jiuyou Peak. The light road began to extend in the opposite direction, following him all the way. Wherever he walked, it was the road. Fishing always requires fishing lines, Lin Feng said calmly. He put his hands behind his back and walked leisurely. Great Saint Zhu Yan looked at the road that extended in the opposite direction behind Lin Feng and nodded. He immediately followed Lin Feng and walked toward Jiuyou Peak. At this moment, the fierce battle was still going on at Jiuyou Peak. Because of the support of the ancestral land of the Ghost Monkey clan, Jiuyou Great Saint and Great Saint Feng Tian were not at a disadvantage and even had some advantages. In particular, Great Saint Feng Tian was stronger than the nine-headed fierce beast Great Saint. When he attacked with all his strength, his advantage over Shi Tianhao was even more obvious. However, this advantage could not be turned into victory in a short period of time. But as time went by, Great Saint Feng Tian's mind, which had been clouded by anger, became clear again. His eyes stared at Shi Tianhao and kept turning. At this moment, he had recognized both Shi Tianhao and Wang Lin. Not good at all. I was deceived by Min Zhao Jiuyou. He only said that there was an enemy attack, but he didn't say who the enemy was. He tricked me into coming back. The 2 disciples of the Master of the Celestial Gate are here. The secret of Jilyo Peak has been exposed. I'm afraid the Master of the Celestial Gate will soon come. Master's plan has already failed. Even if he himself rushed over, it would still take time. However, if the leader of the Celestial Sect of Wonders arrived first, I'm afraid he would quickly capture this old pig. I would end up like 3rd junior brother. When that time comes, I may be made into a roasted pig and end up in this brat's stomach, not to mention filling his stomach with this brat. I'd better run away. At this thought, flames surged all over Great Saint Feng Tian's body, covering his whole body. At first, Shi Tianhao thought that he was going to fight with his life. But when he took a closer look, he saw that Great Saint Feng Tian's skin and flesh were scorched by the overbearing evil flame of the underworld, and he was screaming. Following that, Great Sage Feng Tian's enormous body actually started to burn incessantly. After his flesh and blood were burned away, even his bones started to burn and turned into nothingness. They were all incinerated by the domineering nether evil flame. This sudden scene surprised not only Shi Tianhao, but also Wang Lin, Su Anda, and Abysmal Sage, who were beside him, couldn't react in time and were all stunned on the spot. Chapter 906. The light curtain surrounding the 9th serene peak not only served to isolate the flow of information, but also to block the other party's escape route. Although Lin Feng's Brontosaurus avatar had just scanned the area with his divine sense and confirmed that there was a secret ritual going on in the 9th serene peak, and once it was interrupted, all previous efforts would be in vain, it was difficult to guarantee that the other party would not make a prompt decision to escape. However, at this moment, looking at the spontaneously combusting Feng Kong, Lin Feng did not stop him, because he suddenly realized that the secret technique used by the other party was very interesting. Brontosaurus's avatar was hidden in the void. As his eyes flashed, there seemed to be endless thunder and lightning, and in these eyes, an image was reflected. In the burning body of Great Sage Feng Tian, there seemed to be an invisible path extending out of the light curtain. Across the layers of void, on the other side, a small valley suddenly lit up with Buddha light, trying to guide this invisible path. Lin Feng looked over and saw a fat monk in a kasaya sitting in the small valley. His body was full of treasure light, and his chest was bare, and he had a big belly. He looked like a fat Luohan. Above the fat monk's head, a Buddha light shadow holding 2 vajras in his right hand and a bell in his left appeared. The throne was carried by a longhorned sangsang bird, revealing the true meaning of the perfection of all elements. It was the Dharma body of Bukong Tathagata. This fat monk also looked like an eminent monk, and his Dharma was solemn. Even if he was not a monk, he was still a handsome man. However, from time to time, a hint of slyness and laziness flashed in his eyes. Lin Feng looked at the fat monk, and his heart was slightly moved. He did not stop the Buddha light from guiding the invisible path, allowing the entire path to be connected. Then, Great Sage Feng Tian was swallowed up by the raging netherworld evil flame, and the fat monk in the distant valley, together with the Dharma body above him, was suddenly wrapped up by the raging fire. The blue and purple flame was also the netherworld evil flame. The fierce and domineering demon fire burned on the perfect and peaceful Buddha body, as if the world was going to be destroyed. Even a Buddha would have to suffer and enter the Dharma ending age, unable to be at ease. However, although the fat monk's face was full of pain, he showed an expression of relief, and his heart was at ease. Very soon, the fat monk and the Tathagata Dharmakaya above his head were engulfed by the nether evil flame and burned up completely. However, the nether evil flame was not extinguished. It was still burning. Soon, in the blue and purple flames, a light shadow gradually appeared. The light shadow twisted and revealed an incomparably huge body. Not only did it occupy the entire valley, it even crushed the mountain rocks. A huge wild boar appeared where the valley had been. It had a ferocious expression and 2 huge tusks protruded from its mouth. Its entire body was purple and covered with blue patterns. The netherworld evil flame burned fiercely around its body. It was none other than that Feng Kong from before. He had actually burned his dermic clone in exchange for his true self to escape by faking his death. Great Sage Tianfeng looked at his surroundings and snorted proudly. Then, his figure flashed and he disappeared on the spot. Lin Feng had watched the whole process of him casting the spell and had learned more about Golden Cicada's dharma. He had no intention of making things difficult for this pig that had fled at the last minute. He shook his head in amusement and turned his attention back to the 9th serene peak. On the 9th serene peak, Shi Tianhao and the others were also stunned. A look of astonishment flashed across the faces of Wang Lin and Su Anda. Both of them had a contemplative look in their eyes. Then, they understood and did not stop Great Sage Tianfeng from casting the spell. The most important thing at the moment was the 9th serene peak. The other party had fled at the last minute and sold out the 9th serene peak, which was exactly what they wanted. My meat. Shi Tianhao was more depressed. He could only direct his anger at Abysmal Sage. After the initial surprise, Abysmal Sage's heart suddenly became heavy. Great Sage Tianfeng had fled, but he was in a bad situation. He had to face the encirclement of Shi Tianhao, Wang Lin, and Su Anda alone. Under such circumstances, even if he had the support of the ancestral land, the 9th serene peak, he was under great pressure. He could only withdraw his defense and try to wait for Golden Cicada to come to his aid. Unfortunately, he did not wait for Golden Cicada. Instead, Lin Feng and Great Sage Zhu Yan came first. Great Sage Zhu Yan grinned and said, Min Zhao, do you want to resist to the end? Abysmal Great Sage looked at Zhu Yan Great Sage and curled his lips. He immediately stopped fighting. There was no point in continuing the fight. He had protected Golden Cicada because he wanted to gain benefits from him. He could not follow Golden Cicada to the end. He was blinded by greed and made a bad move by shielding Golden Cicada. If the matter was not exposed, everyone would be happy. But now that it was exposed, he had offended the Great Sage, the current lord of the Ape clan. If he continued to resist stubbornly, Great Sage Zhu Yan, who was the second in command of the Ape clan, would not kill him, but he would inevitably suffer. The relationship between his Ghost Monkey clan and the Demonic Ape clan was not good to begin with. The current situation was enough for Great Sage Zhu Yan to launch an attack. If he continued to resist stubbornly, he would only suffer more losses. Now that Lin Feng was in front of him, it was not appropriate for Great Sage Zhu Yan to engage in internal strife. But if he continued to embarrass Great Sage Zhu Yan, the latter might become angry and take action under the pretext of cleaning up the clan. Moreover, since Lin Feng had come in person, he admitted that he was no match for him, so he needed Great Sage Zhu Yan's help. Seeing that Abysmal Sage had admitted defeat, Great Sage Zhu Yan was naturally in a good mood. He turned to look at Lin Feng and saw that Lin Feng looked calm and also looked at him without saying a word. Looking at the glorious path behind Lin Feng, Great Sage Zhu Yan said nothing more and directly landed on the 9th serene peak. Min Zhao, hand over what Golden Cicada left with you, and things can still be resolved. I don't want to destroy your 9th serene peak. Abysmal Sage's expression was gloomy. He let out a long roar, and the huge 9th serene peak under him gradually split in half. It was not that the peak was really broken, but that the huge 9th serene peak had turned into a black shadow. Although it was still in the shape of a mountain, it seemed to be between reality and illusion. The shadow was neatly separated from the top of the mountain, revealing a small golden world inside. In that small world, several figures were swaying. 4 of the monks looked up at Lin Feng and Great Sage Zhu Yan above and chanted the name of Buddha in unison. Of the 4 monks, one was rather old with 2 long white eyebrows, one was expressionless, but his face was filled with Buddha's light, a young monk who was smiling, and a skinny monk who was calm and expressionless. His skin was dark, and he was so thin that he looked like a bag of bones. They were Golden Cicada's 4 Dharma doppelgangers, namely Monk Amit Ba Guang, Monk Bukong Cheng, Monk Baosheng, and Monk Immovable. Other than Monk Dari, who was at the first tier of the Golden Body realm, who was not here, Golden Cicada's other 4 Dharma doppelgangers were all here. They were in a circle, and in the middle was an altar. A youth was sitting cross-legged on the altar, but he seemed to have lost consciousness. It was Zhou Yunsong, who had been abducted by Golden Cicada that day. Above Zhou Yunsong's head, there was a shadow that was hard to see with the naked eye. The shadow flickered, and one could vaguely see that it was Zhou Yunsong's spirit. Monk Baoxing sighed. It's all for naught, it's all for naught. Monk Immovable's expression was still calm, and he said indifferently, it's a risky move, a rather risky thing to do. Monk Bukong Cheng was expressionless. After all, there are some gains, but it's a pity that I didn't manage to do my best. Monk Immeasurable Light, who looked old and frail, raised his head and looked at Lin Feng. The master of the celestial sect of wonders has a good trick. Golden Cicada had never lacked decisiveness. When Shi Tianhao first appeared and rescued Chu Yang from the hands of the majestic dark saint, his doppelgangers had already communicated with each other and decided to stop the secret technique and escape with Zhou Yunsong. But very quickly they noticed that their communication with the outside world had already been cut off, and it was even very difficult to contact their main body. The immovable monk and the others then knew that they had indeed been targeted by Lin Feng, and the area around Nine Serene Peak was surrounded. Lin Feng looked at them and shook his head. He stretched out a hand and grabbed at the small golden world. Between his fingers, the small world was already grasped by Lin Feng's 5 fingers. With a gentle clench of his fingers, the golden world shattered. Lin Feng used his supernatural power to lift the altar. His divine sense gently swept across the altar. Sensing the information that was constantly circulating in the altar, Lin Feng's eyes flickered slightly, and a look of understanding flashed in his eyes. He looked at the altar. The secret technique ritual was not over yet, and the information was not complete. But Lin Feng still stopped the secret technique ritual and sent Zhou Yunsong's divine soul back to his physical body. Yang Qing appeared beside him and took over Zhou Yunsong. Lin Feng's gaze fell down again. Monk Immovable and the other 3 did not struggle or resist. They sat calmly where they were. It would have been fine if their real bodies were here, but the difference in cultivation between their 4 doppelgangers and Lin Feng was too great. Even if they wanted to use Zhou Yunsong as a hostage to threaten him, they would only be asking to be humiliated. Buddhist light suddenly lit up on Monk Bukong Cheng's body. A Buddha's Dharma body appeared above his head, holding a pair of vajras in his right hand and a bell in his left. The throne was carried by a longhorned sangsang bird. The Buddha's Dharma body burned rapidly, but it was not to cast the Buddhist self-sacrificing mystic technique, nirvana soaring or nirvana samsara. Instead, it was to sacrifice this doppelganger like the great Saint Feng Tian had done previously and let Golden Cicada's real body descend. Lin Feng had a faint smile on his face, but he did not stop him. It was obvious that he was waiting for Golden Cicada to come. In the bright Buddhist light, a handsome young monk in gray could be vaguely seen. It was Golden Cicada's real body. His soft sigh rang out in the air. Monk Bukong Cheng looked at Lin Feng and also let out a soft sigh. Amidst the sigh, the Buddhist light suddenly dissipated, and the burning of Bukong Cheng's Dharma body was forcibly stopped. Seeing this, Lin Feng said slowly, "Master, didn't you want me to come to Infinite Wilderness? You even prepared a grand ceremony to welcome me. If that's the case, why are you unwilling to meet me now that I've invited you?" Monk Immovable, Monk Wuliang Guang, and Monk Bukong Cheng did not speak. Only Monk Baoxing smiled and said, "Master of the Celestial Sect of Wonders, you're too polite. I invited your grand disciple as a guest, but it's a little abrupt and impolite. Now that you're here, I'm naturally ashamed to meet you." Lin Feng smiled. "You're such a shameless old man. But since you've planned for so long, isn't it a pity to waste it?" After saying that, he turned around and reached out to grab the radiant path that was meandering forward in the void behind him, and pulled hard. The entire void shook. Lin Feng grabbed the radiant path as if he was grabbing a rope. With a tug, it seemed like a world was being pulled closer to him.